Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila with your host, Kristen Olson. Questioning a better way, one gracefully disruptive conversation at a time.
Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila. I'm very excited. We are at PodMax. This is the third interview of the day. I have fellow Kristen, we do spell it differently though, on the mic. And she is the founder of Value Video Marketing. And she's got a plethora of marketing background and experience. I saw some influencer marketing in there. We're going to unpack that. And basically who she is as a human. You know, we always get behind the people behind the business first and then go from there. So without further ado, Kristen, welcome to Turmeric and Tequila.
Kristen, thank you so much for having me. I honestly talk to so few Kristens in life. This is kind of funny and a little bit surreal.
Oh, really? That's yeah. I feel like I run into a million Kristens. And please say your last name. I strategically do not say it because I'm going to butcher it. And if you know, listen to Turmeric and Tequila, you know this always happens. So I'll let her say it correctly.
My name is Kristin Jekielek.
Jekielek. We'll get it. We'll get it one day. Maybe for our second interview.
I don't blame you. Most people don't get it. It's hard.
We'll get there. It's the least we can do as hosts, but it's a skill I'm acquiring. But tell us about your young self. Give us a little bit of the background so we can understand how we got to where we are today.
I mean, where I got today is not at all a linear path. It's not something I would recommend anyone else try to replicate in their own lives because it's not going to work. I started off as a really shy, really quiet, brainiac kid. And it took me a long time to learn how to open up socially and to learn that I could go after the things I wanted in life, but I didn't have to follow this quote unquote path that I'm supposed to take, that I could really live any life that I wanted to and be a lot happier.
Well, tell us a little bit about that. I started Turmeric and Tequila because I come from marketing branding space and I really wanted to start highlighting the truth and real influencers out there, meaning people that are doing significant things in this world, not just naked on Instagram with 1 million followers, which if that's your heart, follow it. But I really wanted to start, clearing out some of these smoke and mirrors. But that's because I saw so many things where I was like, that's not real. How did you get to this point where you started to do what you really wanted to do and you disrupted the path you thought you were supposed to be taking?
Well, that decision wasn't one that I entirely made for myself. So I had been working a corporate job in my mid-20s. And that was when I first discovered that quote unquote, people like me could be entrepreneurs. So I caught that bug and started side hustling immediately. But unfortunately, I had started suffering from some really severe health issues that got worse and worse and got to the point where I wasn't able to hold a job. I couldn't even work from bed on my laptop part-time, could not do it, wasn't capable. And I was lucky enough to have already started my entrepreneurship journey because I had an app in the App Store that was just selling on autopilot. And while it wasn't totally enough money to live off of, it was phenomenal to have that income when I was otherwise unable to work. And it has just become my life's mission to always have that business income there to support me, because you never know what's going to happen in life. Yeah. Tomorrow isn't guaranteed.
Especially in 2020 and now 2021, that personal responsibility and security and everything else really hits home. I think people just think, well, get the corporate job, do the thing, you'll have the security. And well, what if you don't? And what if you have, kiddos and husband or wife and all that, you have all these responsibilities, you better have it right before you have all that. So you're equipped if the bottom does fall out. And even if everything works out in life, having that peace of mind, I think is critical. In addition, I want to lean into the health piece a little bit. Turmeric and Tequila, where I'm a longtime athlete and I also love to have fun. So that's the juxtaposition of being all things. Health is wealth to me. So if you're not healthy, whatever it may be, mentally, physically, serious disease, or in a bad relationship, any point of when you're healthy, I think really distracts you from enjoying any angle of life. How did you maintain any sort of, if you weren't really able to work on a normal job, how did you maintain the mindset to be wanting to work at all? And then how did you get healthy or get back onto your normal track?
Yeah. So for me, I was actually super focused on health when I got ill. I was probably overly focused on health when I got ill. I was doing CrossFit several days a week at the time.
Slippery slope.
I was big into paleo at the time. So super strict diet, super strict workout routine. And I was in a mindset where I didn't really care what I wanted or what I enjoyed. I was just going to do everything I thought I was supposed to do. And I ran myself into the ground because at some point when you have health issues, you need to reel it in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you have health issues, more exercise doesn't mean you're more healthy. It typically means the opposite. You're going to run yourself into the ground. And that was part of what I did there. And being able to work was something that I could not wait to get back to. It was like that one like shining star, like my North Star through my health issues of like, it's great to like be able to feel good again, but like I need to be able to work again. That is super, super important to me. So like that drive to work was always there.
Yeah.
My real breakthrough in my healing journey though, was finally having a connection with my inner self and realizing that my wants and desires and what I enjoy isn't just about feeling good. It's actually crucial for health.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I was able to sit back and realize that resting isn't always being lazy, that sometimes resting is being active in the way you need to be, that my body started to get what it needed so that all of those healing mechanisms that we're born with could actually function properly and start helping me get better once I gave it more of what it needed.
Yes. And people don't usually associate like mental health or just not feeling good or being frustrated with physical health. And what people don't understand is that can manifest into your body, your organs. I was a long time. Were you a CrossFit competitor?
I was getting into that headspace of becoming a competitor when I started to get ill.
Okay. We started doing it like 2008. So it was right before like the games were big and whatnot. By 2009, we were at the games competing. And then from there, I had competed for 5 years and in the mix. And I really battled with like the paleo and weighing your food because that's not my personality at all. Hence, like, again, I was a lacrosse kid. We're notorious for the party. When we get, when it's business time, it's business time. And this, so when CrossFit came along and then it started, it was fun and we didn't care. We'd like crush a beer and then go work out. Then it got really, really intense. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not making money from this, which at some point I actually did work for Reebok for cross. So my world did intertwine. However, I could never fully assimilate to this very strict paleo, and then like the training was way too much. And this is before we really knew what we were doing. Although I was a longtime athlete and I hold a lot of personal responsibility for we way overtrained, beat the crap out of our bodies, the whole thing. And so I started to like resent it and not like it. And it's only until recently, like I got into it and actually like appreciate it. But my long-winded point, as I was going through it, I started the coaching and some of the athletes, like I morally didn't agree with what some of the things were going on. And my liver enzymes were popping up. Like and what I do a lot with like human optimization, health and wellness. So I get to do all this stuff for free. So I was having these really crazy tests and like some weird things are popping up and they're like, tequila, like, is it the liver and the tequila? And I'm like, no, like we're not even like drinking right now because we're counting our calories and all this crap. And it was associated with anger. I was angry with this situation and it was physically showing up. And then I had adrenal fatigue and all this crap. Point being, I didn't fully understand, like you just said, connected with your inner self, how much our emotions not only just weigh us down, like mindset, what have you, but physically are manifesting into physical issues in your body. So if you don't address it, if you're already ill or if you're already like immune, exposed to other things, or you have something, if you're not dealing with the emotional side, that will come to the physical. Like that's a huge piece of it. What was the main piece what was the light bulb for you that like connected that dot and that inspired you to pivot?
So I was still very much in the depths of my initial health crisis. I had been to doctor after doctor and they all did all the blood work and they were like, you're fine. You just need to like stress less and sleep more. Yeah. And that could not have been further from the truth. Like once I found the right kind of doctor to work with me and they did the right kind of blood work, there was all sorts of stuff that was wrong, but conventional doctors don't know to look for this stuff. So I had started to turn to alternative healthcare because those people believed me when I told them what was going on with me. They didn't dismiss me and write me off. And they had solutions for what was going on with me. And a health coach I worked with, who I very carefully chose because she had gone through almost the exact same thing I went through. Like the parallels in our story were scary, similar. Working with her, I had started to really realize that I was having an identity crisis. Like I had identified as a CrossFitter. I had identified as a consultant, as a certain type of friend, as a certain type of girlfriend. And I had lost all of those identities and things that I used to do because I couldn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And through working with her, she helped me have the epiphany that there is still a Kristen here. There is still a being worthy of everything that she wants in life, regardless of what she is or is not doing, regardless of what she is capable or not capable of doing at any moment. And once I had that epiphany, that's when I was able to start doing meditation and start connecting in and saying, well, like, okay, what is here? Let's discover what continues to persist regardless of my external circumstances.
That's amazing. And I love when I hear all these, like we have these really complicated conversations around health, and then we go back to what it's not really simple, but a simple solution. And I know there's a multitude of solutions that have to take play here, but meditation, just being quiet and sitting with yourself, or journaling, like some of these things that it's not necessarily like mix all these herbs or take this medication or go run a mile or like do this diet. Like it's really simple things that we should be doing as young humans. Like I think they should teach, and some schools actually are very progressive in teaching meditation and just fostering that conversation as a young human of, how do I actually feel? Do I actually want to be doing this? Do I like this person? Am I comfortable in this environment? These are really important skill sets that are far overlooked in the Western world. And we're blessed when we have people from different mindset that come into our realities that then can, foster our journey into questioning that better way and outside of just the few things that we've been exposed to. Once you are on like that right path and you kind of had your identity dialed in, did you let go of everything, all these other identities that you hung on to for a while? Or did you like let some of these come back in?
That's a good question, because that was definitely a struggle for me. Like when I did regain my health, like one of the first things I went back to was heavy lifting. Like that was what I loved about CrossFit, was doing like a big heavy deadlift. And one of the super cool things was like, even though I could like barely walk for a couple years, once my body healed and I could like work out again, I had retained most of my strength. Like my first heavy lift after barely being able to like work out for like 2.5 years was 185 pounds. And as like a 130-pound person, I was like, this is shocking that I've retained this much of my strength. And it just gave me this sense of like awe for my body, like how much it was still working and maintaining itself in the ways that it had been able to, even though other parts weren't functioning. Like the body's truly amazing. We take it so for granted what it is doing for us all day, every single day.
Did you have any fear? I completely agree with you. I watch My 600 Pound Life. I don't know if you know that show, but it's basically people that are over 600 pounds. It's not really about like weight gain or a show. It's about trauma and then how they deal with it. And what it's blows my mind every time I see these bodies of the people be able to process this amount of food and this amount of trauma. It's all trauma related. So the show in itself is very fast. The process, I love transformation, is always incredible. And I really in awe of all of the people that can really gain hold and come over the addiction. But I can't believe the body can sustain in under like the circumstance that it's put under. And the reverse of that is the super hard training, the super hard lifting. Like your body really is miraculous in what it can do. And if you can treat it kindly and figure out how your body works, because there's not one prescription for every human, it really can work in magnificent ways. And then once you connect it with your mind and your brain, which are also two different things, then you're kind of unstoppable. Like it's a crazy combination. And again, I don't know if you can weigh in on this, but I wish we would have known some of this when we were young people and having some sort of this skill set in our minds that this is possible.
I think about that often, and I really don't think I would have been able to process that type of message back then. It was so far from my worldview and my world experience. Like I would have been like, you're crazy. You're some woo-woo person. Whatever, get out of here.
I mean, there's also truth. Universe, I would say universe, God, Madonna, whatever you believe, I'm here for. It is timing. And like some things you just got to be ready to take on. So, we only have so much control. Well, okay. So now tell me how, as you're creating this business, how did all of this lead you into what you are doing right now? Tell us a little bit about the entrepreneurial setup and where you're moving forward towards.
Oh my goodness. So my entrepreneurial journey is rife with a few successes, but mostly a ton of failure. My entrepreneurial journey has been all over the map, in part because of my health issues. Like you just can't devote yourself to a business the way you need to whenever you're dealing with health issues. So there've been a lot of starts and stops due to that. And basically, my current business came out of another business failure. I had launched a resilience coaching business in late 2019 that I was promoting and getting a lot of in-person events going when the quarantine hit and all those in-person events got canceled, because people weren't yet comfortable with Zoom and people weren't sure what to do. And so I started making marketing videos to promote what I was doing. And within a few months, the universe hit me over the head, like over and over and over again. People kept asking me, well, how do you make those videos? Who's doing that? How do I have videos like that? And I realized that this is a skill set I have that people want to pay me for. And as much as I really had a lot of passion about this resilience coaching, because it's one of the things that I've really developed as a core skill set, and I know how important it is for other people to develop that skill set. The video stuff just led me to the prospect of stable income way faster than resilience coaching was at the time. So having that entrepreneurial mindset of looking for the best opportunity and being willing to pivot is how you learn to fail forward instead of just failing. Because if I had stopped on my entrepreneurial journey 10 years ago after I first got ill, I wouldn't be where I am today. But it's that persistence to keep going, that commitment to my lifestyle goals, that entrepreneurship can give me a sense of that freedom, and just not accepting anything else regardless of the path to get there.
Absolutely. And this is why I love working with my fellow athletes, because you do have this skill set early on, whether you're competitive as a kiddo or not, of you get kicked down, you get back up, you miss 100 lifts, and then you keep doing it, and then finally you nail your PR. And it's you not that's part of the athletic process, is failing or getting knocked over, the ball stolen or whatever, but you keep going. There's no point of you being like, oh, that's it, we're done. And so if you bring that into the entrepreneurial world, any great entrepreneur knows your first idea usually doesn't work, or that iteration of the idea doesn't, and it has to continue to evolve. And even from right now, it's going to evolve probably in the next 6. I mean, look how fast our world's working in technology and everything else. It's crazy. How are you, when you were talking to me about identity and trying to figure out what sticks, and it's something that we kind of label and brand ourselves, that make our own selves digestible to the rest of the world, how are you with boundaries in general?
Boundaries are something I have had to learn the hard way. I didn't have any boundaries in my life for way too long. And even through my healing journey, I've had to develop boundaries, hard boundaries. And my number one boundary right now is time and resources for my health. Any business, any relationship, friendship, whatever, those health boundaries are in place first and foremost before anything else in my life. Because even now, I will suffer from lack of sleep or too much stress faster than the average person because of my health history. So it just has to be a non-negotiable for me. And boundaries are such an interesting thing because they require really amazing self-awareness. You have to know what you actually need. And then you also have to be really good at communicating that out to the people around you in the way that they can hear it and understand it and respect it, and then continue to iterate on those boundaries with people as they evolve. It's one of those things that is, it's like a dance. It's a back and forth. Sometimes you go in circles, but at the end of it, hopefully you feel like it's been a really worthwhile use of your time and energy. And I always love hearing about how other people came to this idea of boundaries, because some people had parents who taught them boundaries. Mm-hmm. People like me had to learn the hard way. So I like hearing about it. So how did you get into the whole boundaries thing?
It's been a continuous conversation for sure for me. And I think a lot of it did start with sports and fitness and then business, because I'm somebody that gives 110%. And when people say that, I'm like, oh, cringe. Okay. But I can't shut it off. When I'm in, I'm all in. I'm not just training, we're going to the games. I'm not just going to be a lacrosse player, we're going D1 top 20. And none of that is I'm so talented that can happen. No, it's run through the wall a million times, switch the diet, train hard, find the right coach, whatever. But within that adrenal fatigue, I'm burned out on lacrosse. It's too much lacrosse. CrossFit, I've had, 3 knee surgeries, and it's so the boundaries like you, I've had to run through the wall like the Kool-Aid man so many times where it's like, are you listening now? How about now? Okay, surgery 5. Are you listening? Okay, I'm listening. Let's pull back. We're going to learn. This is a boundary here. And then it was very mirrored like my relationship world. It's, friends can just do whatever. And I'm pretty actually laid back in life. So I'm like, nah, it's not a big deal. And then pretty soon I'm like, actually, you are kind of a piece of shit. We need to get you out of this realm because it's too much. And I don't actually really care to have you in my world, if we're really being honest. And that's taken away from the relationships I do care about. So it's kind of like this running theme of just being too lackadaisical in one sense, and then just too committed in another. So the turmeric and tequila like juxtaposition is, the branding is so real. I don't know if people ever get it, but hopefully they listen to a few casts and do. But I had to pull back and literally had adrenal fatigue where I was like so tapped out. I'm like, I don't want to train anymore. We got to pull back. And also the way the CrossFit community, that the gym I was part of, I'm like, this isn't really they don't speak to my core values. So boundaries are this continuing learning process. And the key piece for me, especially right now, is what do I want in my life? Like, I'm very clear on like personal relationship, want to buy this certain house, want to do this. And if it doesn't fit into that mix, it goes away, including workout, including friends, and that's a very harsh reality in my mind. We can be friends with them. We're very chill. It's weird, but now that I've created some space, it's sticking, and I understand seeing good things come in. So I've kind of wound it down to just this: do you actually want to be doing this? Is this meaningful? And that's sort of my process moving forward. Do you have some sort of like tip or trick that you do where you can dial back into your ground level boundary space?
Yeah, the way you're framing this is having me think about it a little differently. So I don't have like a quick answer to this one, but I would say whenever I am, I think whenever I like start to cross my own boundaries, I just start to get a little moody and a little irritated. And I kind of have to ask myself, like, okay, like what's going on? Why am I not chill? Like, what have I not been paying enough attention to? And it really comes down to meditating, just sitting quietly by myself, being there, introspective, no distractions for 10 or 15 minutes is usually enough for me to get back in, to start asking the right questions. And I'm to the point where I've developed my inner relationship to the point that I can ask myself a question and very quickly I'll get a clear emotional answer on something.
Wow, okay.
And I value that. And I listen to that intuition. I will ask it questions, I'll probe it, but I will trust that initial response deeply, deeply. And I let that guide me, and I'll go on like a little journey of like questioning around the edges to kind of figure out the boundary of the situation I'm in and what I need and what is happening that I need to get rid of.
Oh, I love that. Meditation goals. I love meditating. I've gotten to a point where I crave it, but I'm only doing like 5 to 10 minutes a day. I have people like, I don't have time. And I hate when they say that, but like, it only kind of fits in. Then I have 3 dogs. So like to really get quiet space is the situation. But the more I do it, the more I know my body craves it. But I would love to get to that place where you're very, very clear. Just walking around, I have gotten good about just feeling it, being like, ugh. Like even just being around certain people, you can feel naturally repelled. There's a book called Truth is a Frequency, and they say you can even grab like a piece of food, like an orange or a candy bar, and leaning forward or back, your body will tell you if this is good or bad for you. And someone told me, like, if you go to like Whole Foods or some of these like hippie grocery stores, you'll see people standing there holding food. I haven't seen it yet, but they're leaning into their intuition if they should or should not eat something. So I believe in physics. I believe in the woo. I love all the science. And I do think if you can even just sit for 2 seconds and be like, something's, even just your body language is like, I'm pulling back, something's off, and that you should probably steer it away. The key piece is really that self-awareness and building that skill set to listen. It's there. You just have to really learn how to listen. And with this identity marketing branding professional, it resonates to me. And I'm sure you see this in the videos. You're creating imagery, you're building or helping build brand awareness, this identity, which is kind of this funny irony that like identity problem, now you're creating or helping foster further identity with the videos. Do you work to not label or to label yourself with certain identities at this point?
So I understand the the utility of having a brand and a business. Like, what do you stand for? What can people count on you for? What should people come to you for? And that's very different than a personal identity. So like personally, I really don't carry identities. I really just am. And I understand that I have certain ways of behaving and showing up in different arenas in my life, but it doesn't feel like I'm locked into an identity anymore. And if things ebb and flow as they do, like it's just another ebb and flow in what I'm doing as opposed to like who I am.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go back to something you were saying earlier about the about tapping in and knowing, is this good for me or is this bad for me? You know, I used to get really, really wrapped up in that my initial response to those things. And then at some point I realized that sometimes that aversion to something is really fear and resistance and avoidance. And I've had to, that's why I do some of that questioning and probing into my initial responses, because I found out that I was, you know, there's this term like spiritual bypassing out there. When you use spiritual practices to avoid kind of being a good human to other people, I'd realized I was actually doing a little bit of that to myself and to others by not probing into what is a fear response and what is a clear higher self response. Is that something that you've noticed at all?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so we've done with my consulting company, we've worked with a lot of these like human optimization situations, meaning like brain maps and neurofeedback and like really intense stuff, and then like life coaching and EMDR and like some really high level stuff. And my through line for all those things were usually if there's something that you judge, like that girl annoys me, or I don't like CrossFit, or something, I don't know, something that like repels you. And that's a little bit different than for me anyways, because I have unpacked some things where I like initially I feel repelled. That is a different feeling for me when I feel like I'm judging something. Usually that judgment in my experience is something that I am judging through myself. Like that person's not strong. Well, that's because I don't feel strong, for just a shallow end example. It's usually some reflection of how I'm feeling. So yes, I completely hear what you're saying and identify strongly. And I think that's 99% of the time what it is. But I will say, I do think it's different than when you feel like an energy and you're like a protective mode. I do think that's different.
Yeah. And that's the interesting thing about like tapping in and listening, is then interpreting what all of these different signals mean. Like I got very good at tapping in very early on, but it has taken me years to understand and translate everything and to know what to do about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear that. How, when you're working with these video clients, how deep do you go with some of this conversation to like better execute the task or the mission or the product that they so desire?
So it really comes down to the client. Like, you know, one of my bigger clients is a heating oil and propane company. So we don't go very deep at all. But when I'm working with like people who are coaches or consultants and their brand is really them, it's their personal brand, you need to go a little bit deeper to extract that stuff. And one of the things I've really loved doing most is getting into like core stories of my entrepreneurial clients and digging into a moment that taught them something. And then sitting with them for an hour and pulling out all these details of that moment and then turning that into an impactful story that conveys something about them, that people get to know them a little more deeply, see them a little bit more as a human, and then also get a little bit of that like emotional response to their story. When it's told in the right way. And when I say emotional response, I don't mean happy or sad. I mean emotional response in terms of like the cortisol arising when you hear about someone's challenge, and then like the dopamine and serotonin being released whenever you hear about how they've resolved their issues, and getting emotionally connected and attached to somebody like that. And those personal stories are what I love doing most about video content, hands down.
That's amazing. And that's pretty evolved conversation. The good news is we work with small companies, work with big companies. I always love the smaller ones. Usually they just like startups. They don't usually have the budget to do all the things I would love to do. However, they really get it and they're really dialed in. And they're very progressive. My older companies or bigger companies that tend to be older, meaning they've been around for a while, have a way of doing things. They've always done it that way. What they don't understand is the consumer has evolved. So when you talk about these things like cortisol and, you know, emotional speak, and that's very evolved conversation. I mean, maybe not really for us because we talk about this all the time. However, you said it to, again, an old school, been around forever business. That's a lot. Our consumers, they get it. So, and they get it at a much younger level. And then they're consuming accordingly. They're talking about Epsom salts and turmeric and EMDR and stretching and whatever. Like, it's a very evolved conversation. So I always love to hear that you are like behind the wheel of helping create this message where now consumers are able to digest this information in a way, and you can totally fill that gap in meeting them at their needs where they are physically at for their wants and what they're purchasing, and intellectually. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. And I will say that like some people are definitely afraid to expose that side of themselves because they're afraid of being seen as weak, as being afraid of being seen as a failure. And it can take some convincing and some like deep conversation about why for people to get really comfortable getting to that place. I have the opposite problem. I will be too vulnerable, like right off the bat. I will talk about just about anything with anybody in any sort of public forum. I have no qualms about it because I have been helped myself hundreds of times by people who have been willing to share their stories, and I've learned from them.
Yeah, I think I'm not the most vulnerable person. That's another process that will continue for me to be a piece of the puzzle. However, I think it's phenomenal for people like you that can do that to gamble it. Like maybe they will get it, maybe they won't, but man, if they do, that's such a win. Like that's such a win. And if you can emotionally handle it, I think it's amazing. If it's a miss, it's a miss. But if not, and you really reach out and you connect, that's so huge. And I really think that's how we move forward in society as a whole. And that's, I mean, we saw what's going on in the White House this past week and, racism this year, and it's been around forever. Like these are the conversations we really need to be having. Business branding aside, who cares? The human element, that's where we progress. And I like that you separated the brand with the human essentially. Because brand at this point is cringy. Even I'm like, I do marketing and branding. I'm like, but it's really about the human and whatever. But it's a conscious conversation. And for me, like I wear the jersey. I love that side of it. And I understand how it's getting towards like brand sounds so not human. It's the opposite of personification, whatever that might be, where it's now you're just like, your thing versus a human. And that hurts my heart because the real gold, like you were just saying, is like, we're not creating as professionals, we're revealing what's already there. And that's the key piece. But that in itself is a conversation. Can you execute that conversation, or do you like navigate around some of these like deeper concepts in a more shallow water so it's more digestible for certain clients?
Yeah, it's definitely kind of one of those things where you have to feel out the person and figure out kind of where to start that conversation with them. I love what you said about the brand versus the person. I think it is such a trap to think that a brand is defining you and you have to be what the brand dictates.
Yes.
You can look at almost any brand and it evolves with the times. Like even Coca-Cola, they may have had the same colors and logo forever, but they brought out the polar bears like in the 90s. And even those polar bears have like evolved over the years to stay with the times. Like every brand is there to evolve, and it's there to reflect what is being offered and who's offering, not to define or constrict them. And I think that's such a crucial differentiation. So I love the way you said that, because you got me thinking about it in a new way. Now I can talk about it a little bit better with my clients.
I love it. Well, I actually want to like rebrand the word brand, because I think if you can make brand just like your identity, meaning like all of you, turmeric and tequila, athlete and student, yogi and you're a hippie and you're a meathead and whatever it is, you can be all these things. So to change the idea of like this like cornered in boxed up thing to like this ever flowing like snowball that continuously changes, like this brand is evolving, just like you're saying with the Coca-Cola bears and everything else. Like it can be a thing. We've always prescribed this messaging to it forever, but really that's not what it is at all. So I don't know. I'm hoping it's now that brand's taken off because everyone has Instagram, social media, it'll continue to evolve and to just like let it be. Tell me a little bit more about, I saw you manage influencers with Kickstarter and everything else. Did that help facilitate with this journey in video and helping like shape the way certain things look? Because influencer is another cringy word at this point. I actually printed shirts that said influencer because it's the most, and everyone that's naked on Instagram that has 1 million followers now is telling us how to live, which is a whole other podcast. But tell me about that experience, because I know there's got to be a good chunk of learnings within that.
Yeah. So my very first business, the app I mentioned earlier, I got that thing off the ground mostly through influencer marketing, which back in 2010, 2011 was really just anybody who had an audience of your ideal customers. And my ideal customer was someone who was eating paleo. So I reached out to CrossFit gym owners, like 3,000 people, like all across the US.
Yeah.
And worked with them to help promote my app. I got on some really big like paleo influencer blogs, promoted my business that way. And influencer marketing, I don't just mean Instagram influencers. I mean people who have audiences of people who your ideal customer, I think is the fastest, highest leverage, lowest cost way of building awareness of your brand and your product. So it's one of the first things I recommend to anybody who wants to grow their following. How do you just leverage their audiences? And I feel like there was another part to that question you asked me, but I'm blanking on it right now.
Well, I just want to piggyback on what you said there. Yes, I think influencer marketing is the best and the most cost and time effective solution you can, particularly if you're starting up business and if you're progressive. However, major asterisks, you need to be able to filter your influencers and really know what they're doing, how, why, and if there's actually conversion there. I think that's a larger conversation. I can tell you understand all those, and you've kind of been through probably the filters of working with a few where you're like, okay, that's a lot of, and I've actually managed a few, which is another podcast in itself as well. But filtering and working with those people, on the flip side, it's great because you do facilitate these really phenomenal relationships if you can find the right humans. The initial question was, did you have like stories within like working with Kickstarter and managing those influencers? And did that kind of supplement some of the journey now in how you do your marketing, everything else for the video business?
So the way I've launched the video business is just through my network initially. So it was just people in my network hiring me, and then people in my network giving me referrals, and doing more networking locally here in Philadelphia, getting more referrals that way. So I'm starting my business in a very traditional, old school way, word of mouth. Yeah. And that's worked for me as I'm getting going. Because as you know, like when you're starting anything new, there is so much upfront work to be done. Like there's your website and honing in your messaging, and there's some logo and branding work, and like it just kind of never ends. So, you know, as I'm getting to a point where like I'm hitting like my first like revenue goal, I need to shift how I'm spending my time, and I need to reinvest back into marketing. Mm-hmm. So doing podcasts is how I'm leveraging influencer marketing right now. You have an audience of people that I might want to connect with. And the best way to get there is for us to have a great conversation that we both enjoy, that we both get to benefit from. And everybody wins in a healthy influencer relationship. I've definitely been in a situation where somebody wanted to hire me to help them influence or market a product that they had, but they were in a very unpopular niche of that market. Okay. And I have never in my life had so many people take their time to write back and tell me they don't want to work with us because they were so anti what we were doing and offering. It was a shocking experience. So you really need to do a little bit of research and make sure that there is a great fit between what you're doing and the people that you're reaching out to, or you're just wasting your time and theirs.
Right. And like you just said, the word of mouth, which is original, like OG influencer marketing before there was megaphone of social media. The thing that we need to recognize as marketers or business people, we're not only like, you know, offering a product, a service, a point of value, we're offering ourselves and our brand leverage, meaning our name, our identity, our however you label it. Because when that person says, oh, who did you work with? I worked with Kristen Olson. Oh, well, we hate that product that they work with. We're not going to work with them because of this. And it's like, wait, that's not even anything to do with so there's a responsibility on our end to be like, this kind of business, I appreciate the opportunity, but it's not a fit for us long-term. And I think you have to be very protective of that space, just like your health, just like anything else, because we've now worked this long to build up this community, this idea of what we stand for, this, you know, our legacy or whatever, that has to be protected, because if you sell that for some cheap price, one job, whatever, you can't really rebuild that. It's like doing PR or having an influencer that, you know, does some crazy post or a sex tape. Like none of this really goes away. And from the moral ground, not from just like, I'm trying to make $1 million. It's be who you truly are. And you can't let some of these filters come in that are not true. So,
yeah, I've definitely had to carefully consider who to work with and who to not work with, because I have found that if I am taking a job just for the money, I can't deliver. Like in this creative capacity that I'm working, it just doesn't come out of me the way it should when someone's paying me to do it if I'm not into the company, the person, the offering. So like I need to do a gut check and make sure that I'm going to be doing them right when I accept them as a client.
100%. And that brings us full circle, so easily in the conversation that it goes back to that internal. And it's like, something's repelling me from this. Something's telling me I don't want to do this or I don't do this, whether that's, me being insecure in this situation or me genuinely not thinking that this is a good idea or this is a bad, or whatever, something's off. So there's something we need to unpack there. But that signal, that smoke flare is huge and something that needs to be listened to. We've only got a few minutes. Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying that, yeah, it has to be listened to. When it comes up and it like punches you in the face with an answer, don't just brush it aside.
Yeah, because then you put out work also that you don't really love, and that's not a good representation. We've got 5 minutes now, but we can go on. And I so appreciate your energy and your evolved conversation. It's so poignant that you are on the front lines of our digital world where our young people are consuming, because I think it's so much more than work. You're actually putting out, specific imagery and messaging that is impactful for this world. In a nutshell, tell us a little bit why you guys are different, and then where do we find you?
So value video marketing really focuses on two different areas. We have two areas of expertise. One area is monthly SEO optimized video content for companies who are already investing in SEO and want to amplify the results they're seeing with SEO, because video content is just going to get seen so much more than the blogs you're already creating. On the other side of the business, I teach professionals how to look more professional anywhere they're virtual through simple video trainings. This can be sales teams. I've worked with companies who host a lot of virtual events and want their speakers and moderators trained on a regular basis, or even just individual professionals or even a doctor who wanted to just have that more professional appearance wherever they're on video. The best place to connect with me and to learn more about what I do in my business or just say hi is to go to LinkedIn. You can just Google Kristin Jekielek, grab the spelling from the show notes, just copy and paste it, put that into LinkedIn. I'm the only one on there, and put a note in there about how you found me. Tell me you found me through turmeric and tequila through Kristen Olson's podcast.
I love it. Yes. And I'm gonna have to hit you up. I've leaned into YouTube and video. The list of the to-do list, as as you said, it's never ending. So you're just scrambling, and that's on my to-do list to really dial in. So we'll wrap at another point for sure. But like I said, I really appreciate your time and energy. I wish you all the best. And I think we're connected on LinkedIn, right? I think I linked you last night.
Yeah, you did.
We try. But I love what you're doing. And I hope that this spiritual journey and identity and everything continues, because I hope at some point you're doing your own videos, because this is really valuable content. And it's something that, again, I think our young people would love to hear, need to hear, and it would be a major point of value for humanity. So no pressure, but I'm just putting that out there.
I'll make sure I do it before I die. Okay.
Hey, okay.
On my bucket list.
Acceptable. All right. I'll let you run, but let's definitely keep in touch.
All right. Thanks so much, Kristen. It's so
Thanks,
great
Kristen.
to connect with you.
Likewise.
Our interviewers do. These
Yeah.
do.
No, you got a good group of people here. And I have to tell you, I'm kind of sick of hearing myself talk. I'm not gonna lie about that.
How often do you say that? Right?
A lot, to be honest.
Okay.
Kristen knows. Like, there are times where I'm like, I cannot hear myself talk one more time. Like, I cannot keep talking.
Who did you just interview with?
Ron Cool.
Okay, so go ahead. So you said our
Mr.
people know what they're doing.
Yeah, no, everybody was so great. And listen, I like to nerd out on business, and my three podcasters also like to nerd out on business. So it was just like a perfect match. And we got into the nitty gritty and I mean, like real nitty gritty about what I do and different advice. And it was just really, really cool, really high value.
I'm so glad, Erin. I keep saying this every time we connect during the event here, that I'm just glad how our relationship started, how it formed, what we did together, how and why you're here today, what your experience is here. And I just adore and respect and admire everything you do. So I'm glad that we're just continuing whatever.
I am too. And we'll have lots to talk about after this. We'll have to put our noodles together.
Do you see who's beaming? Kristen is just beaming off of the, talk to me, Kristen. What's the beam for?
I just got to connect with the other Kristen in here, and I just had my third amazing conversation of the day, and I love doing this. I wish I could do this every day of my life. I just want to have conversations like this and somehow believe it'll make me money.
Wow. Good. The other Kristen, talk to me. Connect the dots.
Yes, it was three amazing interviews. We were just laughing. I'm like, why didn't he put the Kristens with us together first? You got to put us like on the same team early on. But we had a great conversation. I always love unpacking the human behind the business, and then it's cool to see how like the initial journey leads to exactly where you're at, even without all of our controlling ways. So we had a really, really great combo.
That's really good to hear. What was the nature of the dialogue? What stood out, Kristen?
Basically, carefully implementing like the emotional internal journey into like our business, professional, and everything outside of your personal world life, and how we make that conversation digestible with potential clients, with the people around us, boundaries, identity, kind of. I want to say the underlying tone, and maybe Kristen can say this in a different way, but was being our authentic selves and making that digestible for the rest of the world and making that applicable to our business practice. That's kind of an evolved conversation. However, our young people are really in tune with things earlier. So I think it's like this evolving business conversation that we're getting more human.
Wow. Do you think there is something unique or special or intriguing about the interviews that we're setting up behind these closed doors that aren't necessarily relevant or available outside of these doors? As a show host, Kristen, what do you see that these guests are bringing?
Well, I believe in the law of attraction. So I think I am fortunate to like somehow people like me just come through the door, which I don't know if that's good or bad, but we'll say that it's good. But yes, you guys absolutely attract a very emotionally evolved, vulnerable audience. It does show up ready. I know somebody said that earlier. Shows up ready to share, shows up ready to talk about failures. Even if we're all in an evolving space, I think everybody's very comfortable in the space of talking about things that other people might look at as weaknesses or failures or something that's not easy to share. I think you guys get the humans that are ready to face the real shit and talk about it.
Wow. If that's not a sound bite, I don't know what is. I love it. And I love you. Thank you, Kristen.
Hey, we love you guys.
Yes. Ron, cool. You're eating, I know, or chewing or something. What's up, man? How you feeling? You've been indulging in this whole day. Oh
my gosh. I'm already signing up for round 2. So you just let me know if I'm welcome back, and I'm all in. So
you are.
Love it. No, had a phenomenal conversation with Aaron, and we talked all about value, right? And there's only one person that can assign value to you, and it's probably you, and you have to protect that value, and that's the value, right?
Yeah. That's amazing.
I would say that's my wife, the only person that can provide value.
Well, I was going to say that, but my wife is out now, so I can say I'm the CEO of the house because she's not here right now. So it's great.
And something you bring up, Ron, as show hosts, if you're hearing these words, you are welcome back for February 26th. So please do podmax.co/returning-host is the modified form. So you don't have to fill out the all long form that's on the, it's just a modified version. So please do come back. We'd love to have you. Thank you. Look at this comment. Rhino Julie, she wrote, "Oh my goodness. Talking with Lauren is like petting puppies. I feel so warm and fuzzy." Lauren's launching her own show. Today she's guest hosting, but nonetheless, she's still bringing herself, her skill and talent. Imagine if that leads your website for your show, Lauren. That piece of feedback.
I'm just going to screen cap that and put it everywhere. Thank you.
So I guess you had a good time with Julie. I saw that matchup and I was like, that'll work.
Yeah, I'm happy to make a soundbite for you, Lauren.
So there was a good dialogue here?
Yeah, except I kept wanting to ask her questions because I'm like, oh my goodness, like this empathpreneur thing. Like I'm like, here I am talking and I just want to be like listening to her. So I'm going to invite her on my podcast so that I can turn that around.
Look at this. Look at this. This is a point of the day, as if you needed another point, but there are multiple points of today. Corey Carter, let's hear from you. I know you're the second half of Ron Cool. No?
Yes. He and I run the show together. Well, I mostly run it. Ron just hangs out with the second. But no, it's been a pleasure meeting so many great people, and I want to thank the Biz Bros for turning us this way to join you today. But like Ron and I are hooked, and I hope to connect with each and every person that's in the stage, in the rooms today, at some point, even beyond this full day, because like we all have some very similarities in trying to help people, trying to get the message out, and using podcasts as a way to do it. And so the connection is real for sure. And I look forward to getting to know so many people from here. And it's been amazing, Josh and Eric. And definitely appreciate you having us.
Awesome. And it's certainly far from over. Isar, I put the link in for returning hosts. It's in the chat, podmax.co/returning-host. So please get involved in that. Todd G, you're living the dream. What's on your mind?
Man, we just went in a lot of solid directions. I think that the episode I just did with Chris Gannon is going to have a lot of good sound bites, from empathy and leadership to modern business and entrepreneurship, and the power of using media to build your company. And a lot of great things with him. He's always got great insights, and he's a great up and coming entrepreneur right now. I mean, he's already built a very successful business in just like 2 years. And what he's doing is super interesting. He has his service business, which is Captivate Talent. And he's also launched modernrevenueteam.com, which is going to basically be a content brand where they're hosting these virtual event panels to serve the community, unrelated to the quid pro quo of, hey, come and talk at my company's event and then we'll have a sales conversation, but rather actually setting up a completely different, I don't know legally, but a different entity, a different brand that is just to host content and media and bring together the ideal audience that he wants to be cultivating. So I love to see what he's doing, and he's doing great stuff. That's so good to hear. Just to reiterate, the day of special for February 26th, you want in, the tickets are cut in half for today only, 6 p.m. Eastern. It goes away. Podmax.co/day of, all one word. You can get your ticket before 6 p.m. today, and you're in for February 26th. Erin asked a great question. She wrote, what's the best way to create clips of podcast features to repurpose for social media? Is there a service? Yes, there are some DIY services that have been listed here, Descript and Headliner, certainly, but talk to the Biz Bros. Gentlemen, is this not what you guys do? We love them. We've seen what they can do. I have on my social, I have clips from them that they've passed a lot. Talk to us, guys. Is that what you do?
Hey guys, thank you. And yeah, Erin, thank you for the question. And thank you guys for the kind words and recommendation. We obviously love you guys. Yes, exactly. That's what we do. We grab a long form content, video podcast, and we create a ton of assets for you, depending on what you want to use them for. So social, paid, or organic, mail, you name it, we can create that for you. So happy to show the behind the scenes and show you guys how it works and so on. So thank you.
There's a lot. You're welcome. There's a lot of options. And like I said, what you guys put out is just extraordinary. I recently shared a clip when we were on your show. You pulled a sound bite, a video bite from me, 60 seconds, and it's just so good. So it just worked so well.
Wait,
if you go,
Josh, I also wanted to mention who else is speaking.
Sure, that was Isar.
Oh, Isar. What were we saying, Isar?
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback on something you said, Josh. First of all, the Biz Bros are incredible. So you're 100% safe. If you want to fiddle with it yourself, Josh mentioned Descript. If you don't know what it is, it's a freaking magical tool, like nothing short of that. And if you need help to figure out how to do this, ping me.
I have to say, I have to jump in. I think Isar might secretly be the founder of Descript, the way that this guy, he's constantly praising them to me.
I'm a big, giant fan of Descript, like huge. I just told Lauren about it too.
That's great.
So if you need help to get started with it, find me on the chat or LinkedIn or whatever. I would love to help.
Sponsor alert. Am I right, Aaron? Seriously.
They don't even have an affiliate program. Who the hell doesn't have an affiliate program these days?
Descript.
I had an opportunity to speak with the founder who was really, I didn't realize he's like hands-on, and he actually developed and sold Groupon. Yeah. So I got on a call with him, and I was basically moaning and groaning about the script in the early days, and he was taking notes. And I realized who he was as I was talking to him. Like, wait a minute, I'm talking to the founder here. And I was like, dude, can you jump on my podcast? And he was like, yeah. But he's so heavily ingrained in the day-to-day. He's working in that business, not on yet. So yeah, but he's developing, and he's creating something massive. But I did want to also point out something that we mentioned, ad nauseum in the last event. We do have something, Aaron, called Liftoff, with Thought Leadership Platform. So it's a deeper dive into creating content for you, where we work one-on-one with people in order to develop your story, pinpoint and clarify your message, and then start putting it out as weekly content for you and done for you. That's just automatically pushed out everywhere. So, but yeah, Liftoff, you can hit us up too. And we could tell you the details about it.
Great tie-in. Thank you for connecting that. Yeah. And earlier, somebody was just talking about looking, I think it was Corey, about connecting with everybody else. On the site, podmax.co/agenda, you not only have the agenda link there, but there should be the big PDF download of everybody's bios and contact information. Yeah. So make sure you do that. Make sure, again, you're connected, because that's what this is. Make sure you're in the our Facebook group, On Air Brands Network Facebook group. You can hit everybody up there. And that's the goal, just to continue the powerful relationships. What we're going to do in a few minutes is we're going to do what we call PodMax After Dark, as a nod to how this started back in the day when we were doing live events. For the next 20 minutes, once we get started, we're going to put you into small groups of 3-4 people or 5 people in a small breakout room. And for about 15 minutes or so, you're going to have the chance to just network and just communicate and get to know the people in your little pod group there a little better. And then we'll bring you back for 3:20. And then that'll be the Dave Meltzer keynote portion. So in just a few minutes, we'll be getting that organized and going to that is what's up next.
I want to highlight something that PodMax After Dark, the original sort of creation of that. When we were live, people would hang out. Some people had to go back home to their families and dinner, because it's always on a Friday. What was cool about it was After Dark was literally, we would open up a keg, open up bottles of wine, and everyone who wanted to would get on the stage, and we would have a roundtable discussion with whiskey and drinking. And it was cool because if you go to the PodMax podcast, the very first episode is us, unscripted, unfiltered. It is explicit. So that is sort of the beginnings and DNA of PodMax After Dark, where you can just let loose, go grab a drink, be yourself. Because I know we're all prim and proper during these podcasts, but if you're one that loves to drop F-bombs or just be yourself in these rooms, because it's a small space where you can sort of just,
Did you just call Pablo prim and proper? Is that how he's showing up?
He is very prim and proper.
I think he got that name after his Minnie Mouse attire last time. Is that where it came from?
Cat.
I forget what that was.
Viking. I have screenshots. I'm going to use that wisely in the future.
Did you just get permission to use the F word? I mean, is that what I heard?
Hey, PodMax After Dark. Whatever you do in that room stays in that room.
Wait, let's go.
It's the blazer and the side part. I try to sneak it in, right? I'm an undercover nice guy right here.
There's nothing undercover about your nice personality, Pablo.
You're super polished.
Thanks, Sam.
Polished Pablo.
Larry, talk to me. How you feeling? How's your day? I know you were just matched as the guest, of course, because that's who you are today.
Right.
You were just with who?
Pablo.
Who dare put you two together? How was that?
I begged. Truth be told, I begged to get to talk to Pablo. He may not know it, but I did ask. I said, please put me with Pablo, because I knew our energy it would kind of be like a nuclear reaction. And man, I believe it was. I think it was such a high energy episode. Pablo is a brilliant conversationalist, and he asked some questions that, well, it just kind of triggered old Larry to get a little deeper than maybe he probably should have. But hey, whatever. We're all about sharing and getting to know each other. Today's been tremendous. I've had 3 tremendous interviews. Being on this side of the mic has been a lot of fun. And it's been very insightful as well. And I appreciate the opportunity to flip the script a little bit this time and get to meet with each and every one of, who was it? Lauren and Pablo and, oh my gosh, Lauren and Pablo. Oh, and Todd. Whoo, Todd, I love you, brother. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to leave you hanging in the dark there. Here he is in the middle of my screen.
All right.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Well, it's been a long time. It's been like 6
It's been a long day.
Anyways.
Yeah, and you're going through withdrawals of Clubhouse. You haven't been on Clubhouse all day. So.
I have not been on Clubhouse all day, dude. And I told my wife during our working lunch, I said, man, I got FOMO like you would not believe right now. I was dying to see what I'm missing.
I thought you were running a Clubhouse chat room or, doing your thing at the same time as PodMax, multitask.
No.
I think the Biz Bros are trying to figure out how to set that up for the next PodMax.
I'm telling you, man.
They were breaking stuff yesterday.
You've got to get a PodMax room.
House thing as we could yesterday.
Yeah, that was history in the making, guys. We're trailblazers, guys. Here we go.
That's right.
I just want to say this. Okay, we all are loving on Clubhouse right now. It's the fastest growing platform to date, but it is a time burglar. It made me miss dinner for the first time in months. And it just goes way longer than you think it's going to go. You can say, I'm carving out an hour. And then what happens, Larry? When we were in the room together, I'm like, I got to go to dinner. How about you just and then you took it over. I came back an hour later. You was still in there.
Still there. Yeah.
I missed the beginning of a meeting yesterday, Eric, when I was in the room with you. I was like, oh, someone messaged me. I said, sorry, I'm in Clubhouse. I'll be there in a minute.
And everyone understands when you say, I'm sorry, Clubhouse.
Eric just threw us under the bus. That's what happened. He just gone.
Can I add this to Clubhouse?
Very capable.
It's not just a place to hang out. It's not just a place to talk to people. I mean, I've secured clients. Been on there for a week and a half. I've secured 2 clients directly because of Clubhouse. Yeah. And each of them were mid to high 4-digit clients. Wow. So there's the opportunity to earn a tremendous value to that platform. And you'll get a huge ROI if you get in there and you show up and you exchange information with people and you share, put yourself in a position as a subject matter authority, and people will seek you out and ask you for further help. And there's that opportunity. I mean, it's a gold mine. It really is. It truly is. And Josh, you were talking about how you're an Android guy and you're like, oh, I love my Android. I can't get on there because I don't have iPhone. Bro, for the clients that I landed this last week, you can buy about 8 iPhones. So go buy a freaking iPhone and get some clients, bro.
Are you offering Josh an iPhone? Is that what I just heard, Larry?
No, I think I cut out there. I don't know what happened. But,
So with that, let's get you to your PodMax After Dark networking. You got about 12 minutes in that room because we don't want to miss the next segment. So we're going to push you into the rooms. Go do your things, and we will automatically bring you back at 3:20. So
what's up, ladies?
Hey. Hi.
Oh, Pablo.
Make sure you guys can hear me. Very echoey room. Hi.
How did I win like this? This is amazing.
You ladies in black.
Right?
So true. With white backgrounds.
How was everybody's day? Good interviews, good combos?
Oh my gosh, amazing.
Yeah, they were great. Who all was here? I was the guest. Who else were people guests or hosts here?
Host.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. We can't do it without the guests.
You're right. I love it. Good.
Was this your first one?
This is my first PodMax. Yeah. Not my first podcast, but my first PodMax. Yes.
Sure.
Yep.
Amazing. Yeah, Pablo, how many have you done? Have you done 5 or 6 of them? 2 or 3?
In a range, probably 4. I don't think by the time that I joined, you had already done at least one because you were like a return one by the time that I did it. So probably about 4 or 5, something like that.
Okay. Yeah, I've lost track. I think More than one hand, I think. I don't really know, but we keep coming back, so something's going well.
Yeah, right. We're gonna run out of fingers soon.
Amber, have you done a bunch of them as well?
Yeah, I've done all the virtual ones.
Oh,
so,
okay. I
yeah.
thought your name looked familiar, but you only get to connect with certain people, so I'm glad. That's why I like you see the same names. You don't really get to connect with people until you get cross paths like directly.
Yeah, it's crazy. Actually, I just interviewed Mark Stinson, which was awesome because we've been trying to connect for a little bit. And unintentionally, that's where our conversation went of like living in this world where like this is amazing because you get true connections. But we were talking about sending people a message, and I was like, it's so hard because you almost cringe when you see your Messenger or your LinkedIn say you've got a notification. You're like, oh my God, what is someone trying to sell me? And what group do they want me to join? And so just to have like true connections like this are amazing, and be able to like have some true follow-up game, which is where I've failed in the past. So.
True, totally. I've changed my LinkedIn to podcaster as the title. I have a consulting setup and everything else, but I put podcasts. So anytime I see other podcaster, I'm like, yes. And it tends to be like some like-minded human in some way, even if we're polar opposite. So I really enjoyed how the podcasting world is still kind of small.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Pablo,
So
you're the
prior
ultimate connector.
Thank you. I was just gonna say prior to PodMax, like I had already kind of made an investment in going to as many podcasting conferences as possible.
Okay.
Because so the first one that I went to was like Podcast Movement, and Amanda, you probably echo with this in the book publishing world and the writer world, right? Like I went to Podcast Movement because I'm like, I had this like harebrained scheme of like, dude, if I can. I love conferences. I know how to land in a conference and walk away with 100 friends. I'm like, if I could walk away with 100 podcasting friends, I can be my own PR tour, right? Like I'm able to do that, right? So, but when I got there, I'm just like, I freaking love everyone here, right? Like everybody that has a PodMax, like anybody that would write a book, has a voice and something to say and a stage, right? Like there is something that you want to promote into the world. And I just feel like that's the type of person I like to be surrounded by. So like now, like doing PodMax is amazing because it's just like, yeah, this is the virtual version of that. And I'm addicted to it. So yeah.
I love that.
I'm with
I
you.
mean, yeah, no, it's so fun because I was a host of a podcast for 2.5, 3 years that I was doing mostly it was for myself. And then 120 episodes later, I was still doing it. I was like, well, it's not just for me anymore, but I loved every moment of it. And then traveling and living in countries that, have very spotty internet made it a little challenging to be committed to it. So I've really put a pause on it for over a year, or about a year, more than a year now. So anyway, I'm glad to be back in the community and to get to talk again and, have the conversation, the connections, and it's really beautiful. And I love Josh, and I mean, Eric seems amazing. So I'm happy for everything that they're up to and creating in the world. And I'm really excited because I've talked to Josh and I want to have one specifically for authors. So I think we're going to, in the coming months, collaborate on doing one of these for, kind of like have a branded, one of these events. Because I mean, it's amazing to get amazing podcast hosts paired up with people who have a message and something to share with the world and get to do it all in one day. I mean, it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, that's awesome. I don't know for the other hosts, I don't know if you feel the same way that I do, but I feel like these interviews, I mean, most interviews that I do, but these interviews for sure, I end up leaving with so much information that like I didn't even know I needed, and like that connection. And so it's like I take something ridiculous out of every single interview that I do from the people here, which is just a sign of the people that they bring into this event.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a level of depth that everybody brings to the table, or at least questioning something if you haven't been privy to like the deep end of a certain topic. But it's really cool to see the diversity in like the intellect and like the mission and the message. But like the through line is that everybody's questioning that better way. So I think that's really, it's cool and it keeps you coming back.
For sure.
Totally. So a funny story. Chris, I was just gonna say, Kristen and I share a friend completely random. like
Oh
way
yeah,
off.
I forgot. Yes. Yeah,
No,
I went to
Kristen-
high school with him.
Yeah, Kristen went to high school with like my best friend from college, and one of the reasons I moved to Jacksonville, which I think is fucking insane. So I just had to call it out because Kristen, you and I haven't really spoken much, but I think it's awesome.
I know. Well, we're LinkedIn friends, so that's meaningful in the digital world.
Yeah.
But yes, that's it. Yeah, that is incredibly random. Although I'm still convinced it is still such a small world. And podcasting is, everyone's like, everyone has a podcast. There's a million, blah, blah, blah. But like, there's really not that many. There's billions of humans. It's still like a teeny tiny world. So it's pretty cool to like even cross paths and like make that super roundabout connect. It's insane.
Yeah, totally.
I love that. In my world, those things happen. Well, they happen daily now. So I love hearing that you're having one of those moments. It's just so beautiful. Actually, really quick story. It won't be as interesting if you aren't connected, but the woman I've been friends with for over a year and a half, virtually, and then she lives here in Costa Rica. So now for the last, 6 months, 3 months, we've been really close. We're actually merging our businesses now. And anyway, I just found out last week, I overheard her say someone's name, and I'm like, huh, that's so funny. I wonder why she's saying Emily's name. Come to find out, it was a woman that I had hired back in 2015 as a virtual assistant, just because I was like trying to start a business and I need help with something. That same woman, about 3 months later, was who my friend worked for, took her business from like a 4-client business to a 40-client business with Facebook ads. Ultimately, my friend then left due to some misaligned values and started her own very successful digital marketing company. But she like put that woman on the map in some way, and it was just crazy. And we did not know each other at the time. And we just had that like aha moment. So it was one of those like, okay, this is a pretty small world, right? I love that. And I'm glad to know, I have all of your, I just wanted to check the bio sheet. I can have all of your emails, right? Because you all put your email. Okay, good. I just want to make sure I know how to contact everyone.
I don't know if mine's in there. I think it is, but it's just.
And you IG'd me.
Oh, I did?
I think so.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I'll follow up. I saw a request.
Oh, yes.
So
if you put on there, I'm on. I think you said you're on Instagram. So whoever wrote that, I try and meet people where they're at, literally and metaphorically. So it's, yeah, I'm here for you.
Follow up.
Yes, and thank you to all the people who actually post their links in there instead of just their handles, because I'm like, my God, like
streamline process. Come on.
Yes, just post your straight link.
Yeah. No, that's
I look forward to knowing what turmeric and tequila means, by the way. I just really look forward to knowing what the inspiration for that title is.
Yeah, look, I mean, honestly, the quick forward one, it's the juxtaposition of being all things. And I hail from the marketing and branding space. So we started the podcast to literally start clearing out the smoke and mirrors and telling the truth that you can be all things and basically disrupting the status quo. Yeah. And drink tequila and eat turmeric,
Amanda, what's your IG so I can follow you?
Yeah. Being Amanda J. And there's a business one too, but that's they're not, none of them are managed, but you can at least contact me there.
We can only do so much.
Cool. I've been writing and publishing books for the last couple of years. So anyway.
My email address is youshould@connectwithpablo.com. I just I like saying that because I'm proud of it.
No way, that's amazing.
I noted it. I saw it on the bio sheet and I'm like, that's a clever email. So I that one I already looked up your website. So it's great. Thank you.
It's a call to action and an email address. Yeah.
Exactly. I love it.
I like it one step ahead. I love it. So, Amanda, are you going to start a podcast?
I may re-energize the one I have, or maybe I'll start a whole new one based on the brand now. Awaken Village is the new brand. So I have a feeling a podcast will come out of it. We're actually right now talking about a TV show. So we've met some really incredible people in Costa Rica, including some LA producers. I mean, it's just wild who I've met in the last few months, like weeks. So I'm actually having a meeting right after this in about 40 minutes on that very topic. So we're going to find out. So podcast, maybe TV show, maybe.
Well, you'll know if it's right. It sounds like the energy and the manifesting, but something's happening. So just lean in, it'll come at you. Amber, what show is yours?
More Than Corporate.
That's it. Okay. I'm visual. Yeah. I have to see things like connect. Hence the obnoxiousness, but I've heard amazing things. I'll have to leave.
Oh, thank you so much. Most of them are not lies. No, some of them are. No, I love doing it, and I think similar to what somebody else said. I don't know. I don't remember if it was right here. I think it might have been you, Amanda. It started as a passion project because it was like I needed a way to share my journey because I had to get all the shit that was inside out, and then I kind of realized that people were listening, which after that became not terrifying anymore. I started to actually realize that this was something that needed to be said. So
love it. Amazing.
There is
I
like
love the name.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's like a recognize, I think once you get into it, like you recognize almost a responsibility to continue, like, oh shit, people are listening. Like, well, I'm passionate about this, but like, then I don't know. I felt like the responsibility to like, no, you have to keep doing this, like in a good way, but it's like, this matters and you know something, so you need to say it. And I don't know, it snowballs.
Yeah, it was really interesting because I was hitting like a frustration point with, okay, I've got to decide, am I turning this into a business? Because originally it started as a passion project and then I built my coaching business around it. And when I had that conversation of, am I going to turn this into a business? I was like, I don't even know if anybody listens. And I was in that spot and my friend reached out to me, really good friend, huge part of my story. And he says, dude, you are not going to believe this. My friend from Canada just shared his top 3 podcasts and you're number 2. And I was like, okay, people listen. Like that's the sign that I needed to keep going.
I love it.
Yeah.
Full goosebumps.
I know, right? So now I've reached out to him. We're talking about getting him on the show because he's got an incredible story. So.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Great move to reach out and put him on the show. Brilliant.
Yeah. Shoot, well, they're cutting us off. Please, I'd love to connect with all of you in other
digital emails. Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Pablo, hello when you're in Colorado, man.
Huh?
I said, holler when you're in Colorado.
Oh, for sure. Get in.
Them.
Did he? Todd, you said nice things about me. I heard you were talking trash in the other one.
What's your name again?
Josh, I'm actually upset. I missed the, I think it was the December one, because I did have so much fun when Todd convened to jump on here in November that night where I was at the bar and I signed up.
Yeah, he had so much fun. He drank a whole bottle of whiskey before he came on, and it was excellent.
Yeah, Chris actually came on literally 16 hours before the morning of, right? I remember that.
I woke up after being up a little too late and saw the invite in my calendar and went, oh, this is an all day thing. And it starts in a half hour.
Yeah, something like that.
I had a little bit better of a preparation last night and this morning for today. So I'm a little bit more up in spirits today.
That's great.
But it was awesome.
I'm so glad to hear that. As we continue on, guys, off the top of your head in that chat, give me the one word feeling, what you're experiencing, how it's going, what the embrace is. One word that sort of just encompasses, epitomizes, insert adjective here. Good. Energy, love, connected and inspired, powerful, inspired, deep and pumped, flowing. Awesome. Love these words.
Pertiti. That is a good word.
What does it say?
Oh, Wally put Pertiti.
Yeah.
That means he feels loved.
I love Wally, and I'm going on his boat to cuddle.
Yes.
Yes, that was from last time.
Yes.
You have to elbow Pablo out of the way.
I can't elbow Pablo out of the way. Let's be real.
We'll just have to schedule it. 20 minute.
Gotta
cuddles.
happen.
20-minute
Gotta
cuddles.
happen.
Rotation.
Oh, is Jake here? I don't see him on my circles.
Yes,
Where?
Jacob is here.
No, not our Jacob. There should be.
Oh, Meltzer's Jacob.
Yeah, where?
Yeah, he has a Jacob.
I think we might be getting a reputation that we only do business with companies that have a Jake. I think is the last Matt and Joe had a Jake, right?
Yes.
And who was before
else?
that had a Jake?
There was a few, right?
Yeah.
Is there anywhere I can get my own Jake?
I'll be your Jake.
Oh, so sweet.
They did email me this morning that they would that they were going to see me here later. So
yes, I'm sorry, Rhino Julie. So we do apologies. Apparently, there are some inside jokes here that over 10 events have developed. Not fair, guys.
That's why you can't miss one.
See, spoken like our true marketer. I love you, Todd. Don't want to miss the inside joke? Sign up. Yep. Someone should explain the cuddle references. That's twice now. Well, Julie, first of all, thank you for calling it out because it went right over my head. So believe it or not, this has to do with Wally, our good old fashioned Wally Conway over here, who I say that because so last PodMax event during the 9 o'clock hour, I think it was even like 9:15 when I first met him and went to him. I said, Wally, so good to see you, blah, blah, blah. And I said, I love this boat because he had a picture of his boat. I said, I'm all about it. And then Wally just said something like, Josh, I see what you're saying. We can absolutely cuddle when you come on the boat. Made just a quick joke about that. I'm probably not even doing it justice, but am I sort of right,
The
Wally?
honest reference is to Pablo. So Pablo and I became buddies a few years ago, working together through a nonprofit, Best Buddies. We were doing a fundraiser together, and we just became just brothers from another mother. I described it yesterday on his mother's birthday. So we spent time together personally. We spent time together professionally, and he affectionately refers to it as his cuddle time with me. That's all.
I get it.
The wives know. We can attest to that. We call them. We're like they know. This is good. It's good, guys.
All I want to contextualize here is that it's weirder than that. Like I'm not just trying to cuddle with Larry, with Wally. I'm legitimately single white femaling him. Like I show up everywhere that he shows up, dressed like him on purpose as a tribute. Just for the record, it's weirder than you think.
So Julie, I hope that answers your question. Of course, if there are any private or inside jokes that do make their way, please let's call them out. Speaking of, it looks like David Meltzer is here. I see a box with his name. And I see a face. It's David Meltzer.
I'm like
Welcome,
Kazoo,
sir.
man. I just appear when you mention my name. It's perfect.
And that's been the case every time on my phone too. I say David Meltzer and you appear. It's incredible. Speaking of appearing, I just want to give a shout out to Jake Fleshner. I know he might be able to appear. Jake's your man who I've been dealing with all month, setting this all up. I just want to say, my goodness, a powerful person on your team. I mean, just to work with Jake, what do I need to know about this, David?
Well, it's in the philosophy of asking and attracting. If you have a certain frequency, you're going to attract people like Jake Fleshner. And it's an affirmation that I'm doing things the correct way in my life. Because I used to attract the people that would take me to the wrong places and do the wrong things. And now when I speak at South by Southwest, someone like Jake Fleshner comes up and said, I got to do whatever it takes. I'm graduating from Michigan. I want to work with you. I've worked for Gary Vaynerchuk and I want to work for you. What do I need to do to work for you? And as you know, he came to me. Wow. And I will tell you, he just turned 24, January 8th. We had to miss his birthday because of COVID. We were always at CS celebrating. My birthday is January 11th. Wow. And my only worry is I care for these kids so much. I have so much about my own kids. Now I feel like my family is, 25 millennials deep. And they're all extraordinary people, but they are going to continue my legacy. I know for a fact that Jake Fleshner will empower over 1,000 people to empower over 1,000 people to be happy.
I'm getting the chills. I'm getting choked up with everything you're saying because you're speaking my language. You're certainly speaking the language of the room. You're in the right place. Before we officially get started in 2 minutes, but this will probably tie right into it. What you said hits home because part of my story is that I spent 40 plus years. Today, I'm the hidden entrepreneur because 40 plus years I showed up in every situation, hiding all of my true self, my ability, what I was capable of doing in exchange for seeking the approval. And what did I get? Just like you said, David, I attracted the very people of who I was, the dark, the angry, the miserable, the jealous, the people who will just beat you down. And then I couldn't have, I finally, through the eyes of my 2 adoring children, I said, enough's enough. And then when I was once scared of coming powerfully to the table, doing everything that I knew all along I was capable of doing, I was afraid that people would retaliate. But now I'm attractive. I mean, I got you in the room. I got everybody here in the room. These are the powerful people that you just attract by showing up with the capability that you have.
It's amazing. You know, they laugh at you, scoff at you, make fun of you, but then they applaud you. And I have heightened my awareness to the ideas, the people, and the coincidences that occur in my life. And there is a mathematical equation that goes along with that. As much as I'm a spiritual freak of nature, I'm very pragmatic and mathematical. And here's the mathematical equation that changed my life. What I pay attention to and what I give intention to, what I think, say, do, believe in the aggregate of my unconscious competencies, personality traits, characteristics, obsessions, and addictions equal what? The coincidences in my life. Coincidence is luck. It's a mathematical equation of luck. So pay attention to and give intention to what you want, not what you don't want, not what's missing, not what other people want for you. Okay, Josh, not what other people want for you, and definitely not what you don't want, because I see that all the time too. So, but if you put that attention and intention on what you want, I promise you the coincidences, the coinciding of the universe will happen in your favor at the right way at the perfect time.
Well, let's move right into this officially. One of the themes that we've been experiencing today is just that there are no accidents. Everything happens for a reason. And in preparing for this very conversation, earlier today, we had Claude Silver, of course, from Vayner. We had James Orsini, of course, from Vayner. But now we've had the honor and the luxury to have known James since our very first PodMax virtual event just this past May. Through one contact or another, Lisa on our team happened to know him from Seton Hall. She said, wait, I know this guy James who's in Vayner. So he came, did our keynote in May, and now he hasn't left, right? He just keeps giving, and we love him. And the Vayner theme just keeps coming up in all of our events, to the point that, like I said, Claude was here today. After Matt, he put us in touch. After James, he put us in touch with Matt Higgins, which you see where I'm going. You spoke to Matt last week. You guys had a dialogue and a conversation. A couple years ago, you were on Gary's show. Gary's been on your show. So talk to me about the power of even just one relationship and how you can expose yourself to increase those relationships.
Well, I think it stems from seeking what you want. So I was asked by the Vayners originally 4 Super Bowls ago, so it's almost exactly 4 years ago, to help with their sports agency. So nothing to do with podcasting, digital marketing, content. And, being an older, more experienced sports agent branded guy, they came to me for a little bit of help. And of course, abundantly, I was just thrilled, but I didn't know AJ was the person that reached out to me for help, and I met them at the Nike suite. I didn't know who Gary Vee was. And the people who work for me, they absolutely did, and they freaked out. And so all of a sudden they came over and said, Gary Vee wants to talk to you. I'm like, who's Gary Vee? AJ's brother. Okay. And I was smart enough at that time to, Gary being a person who counts how much he does, it really bothered him that I was helping him and he hadn't done anything for me. It's truly part of his soul. And he said, what can I do for you? You're ahead of me. I said, I don't compete. Comparison steals my joy. He says, I like you. He said, what can I do for you? I said, well, my team thinks that I can build my own brand. I built the biggest brands in the world, the Aikman, Moons, and Youngs of the world, and the Lennox Lewis's and Sabathias, big corporate partners, and built their brands, MetRex, and so many other things that I built. How can I make a middle-aged mutant turtle interesting to people? And he looked at me and said, really? He said, what do you want to do with your brand? I said, I want to empower over 1 billion people to be happy. He goes, well, how are you going to do that? I said, I need you to help me get 2 people this year that will be my ambassadors. He said, what do you mean? I said, I want you to help me with my content, speaking, books, TV shows, movies, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever it is. I want at the end of this year, by next Super Bowl, for there to be 2 people out there that said, you got to watch Dave Meltzer. He's going to change your life. And if they can get 2 people a year to get 2 people in 20 segments, and if it takes 20 years, although I know how acceleration works, it'll be 20 segments of less than a year. But in 20 years, when I turn 70, then I'll be the most popular 70-year-old in the world, because I'll have 2 million ambassadors getting me at least 2 million people, more ambassadors every year to help empower people to be happy. And by the time I die, I'll have over 1 billion people, a collective consciousness of happiness. And he looked at me and he says, deal. I said, what do you mean deal? He says, whatever you need, here's my cell phone. Let me help you. And I will tell you, the help that he gave me, besides us introducing people that we knew, because we have extraordinary networks, that's given. But my favorite thing is I usually got 5 minutes a week or 5 minutes every other week. And he'd look at my Instagram and he literally would give me the same advice every time. Post more. You got great shit. Post more. Post more. And I'm like, dude, my family hates me. They're telling me not to post. I'm bothering them. He goes, Dave, post more. So here I am 4 years later, and my best piece of advice to everyone in the world: find your frequency and post it. Post as much as you can until you've annoyed the people that love you and care about you. You haven't even reached the minimum of what you should be posting. And from that frequency of being okay with who I am, the middle-aged mutant turtle, whatever I am, I'm like the Dr. Pimple Popper. 99% of the people don't want to watch pimples being popped, but 1% of 7 billion people or whatever it is, it's a lot of people. And that lady has more subscribers than the entire Hall of Fame. She has her own TV show. Well, I'm like Dr. Pimple Popper. Hopefully not quite as gross, but hopefully in the same frequency that I'm attracting the right people that do like what I have and what I deliver.
Absolutely incredible. That whole entire chunk, 4 words stick out that I'd love for you to expand on. You said comparison kills my joy. I feel like by default, if we aren't aware of it, don't we all just compare by default? And what do we say about that?
Yeah, well, we want to find outside of us things we don't have inside of us, right? And so when we can counterintuitively look within us for what's outside of us and to realize that we're simply projectors, that we give meaning to everything that we see, when you start to unravel the way that we have a very strong mindset, heart set, and a conscious continuum that are all integrated together in order to get us what we want, you'll start to realize that every time I put judgments and conditions on exterior things in my life, judgments and conditions are comparisons, that I immediately create interference, voids, and shortages. I separate myself from that I'm walking with at all time, the greatest source of love and lessons, that I'm living somehow in a different world, not a world of abundance of more than enough, but a world of not enough or just enough. I am not a victim. Things do not happen to me. I am not in a world of for me anymore. I spent my whole life, like you, Josh, pleasing other people, buying things I don't need, trying to impress people I didn't even like, separating myself with some kind of comparison, people laughing at me, making fun of me and scoffing at me. And instead of loving myself so other people could love me, I was trying to plead for their love, which just attracted them or made them repel themselves from me. And I started attracting all the other insecure people who have no soul and have not literally living these empty lives and have not understood that comparison, judgments, and conditions will steal your joy.
What was your turning point, your aha moment from going from a life seeking approval to one of not?
So there's 3 things. And if you please just oblige me on a 3-minute story, I love to tell stories to teach lessons, but 3 things have happened in my life. When I was 30 years old, multimillionaire, married to my dream girl, I had met my wife in the 4th grade. My best friend, Robbie, had asked her to go steady for me at 6th grade camp. And she said, no, tell him to ask me himself. And he screams in front of everyone at 6th grade camp, dude, she said no. So I got embarrassed and threw an egg at my wife. So she hated me for junior high school. Anyway, at 30 years old, my dad had left me when I was 5, single mom, 6 kids. But he was my hero at 5. And in fact, drove my mom crazy because as we drove around, she would pack our dinner in a station wagon between the 2 jobs she had to work at because my dad was a deadbeat dad who had money but wasn't paying child support in the 70s. And I'm in the back seat asking my mom, how come you can't be more like dad? Right? Dad was married to a girl that was closer to my age than him. He made money, drove a convertible Cadillac, but didn't give any child support for his 6 kids. And I'm in the back seat of the station wagon. My dad's my hero. But at 10, my dad royally blows it. He forgets my birthday, which was bad enough. I was crushed. But when I confronted him, he told me that he didn't believe in birthdays, that he didn't forget my birthday, but he didn't believe in birthdays and he didn't celebrate birthdays. And at that moment at 10, I realized my dad was a liar, a cheater, a manipulator, an overseller, and a back-end seller, and I hated him. When I was 30 years old, after 20 years of separation, anxiety, and frustration that was caused by this strain in my relationship, my dad sent me a birthday present. When a huge box comes, I open it. It's a beautiful sport coat. I put it on and I start to cry. And my wife says, I know you cry easy, Dave. Everybody that knows Dave Meltzer knows I wear my emotions on my shoulder. I'm connected, so I'm a baby. But I started to cry, and she said, why are you so upset? I said, I can't believe this fits. That means my dad not only gave me a birthday present, but he cared enough to see what size I wore. And I opened it up to see if it said, especially made for your 30th birthday or Armani or something. And he had torn all the pockets out of my jacket. I immediately went from complete joy to hate. And I called my father in anger and I picked up the phone. I said, hey, I got your present. He goes, oh, thank goodness. I said, why are you punishing me? I said, what are you talking about? I said, why are you punishing me? Who sends a jacket I can't wear? He said, whoa, whoa, whoa. That jacket's not for wearing. I said, well, why after 20 years you're going to send me a jacket I can't wear? Is this some kind of stupid lesson? He said, exactly. It's a lesson that you can't take anything with you when you're gone. David, you're just like me. Money doesn't buy love. Hang the jacket in the closet. You can't take anything with you when you're gone. This is a reminder you're not going to be the richest man in the cemetery. Don't make the same mistakes that I made, son. I wish at 30 I was ready to hear that, but I told him to F off. I told him, I'm nothing like you. You're a liar, a cheater, a manipulator, an overseller, back-end seller. I hate you. 6 years later, lesson number 2 would happen. Rob, the guy that asked my wife to go study at 4th grade camp, he had always remained a great friend of mine, and he went golfing with me. Now, I'm running Lee Steinberg Sports and Entertainment, the most notable sports agency in the world. I have access to everything, including at the Masters, which is, to me, the ultimate. It's the sporting event that never, ever disappoints. Just trust me. If you ever want to go to one sporting event, that's the one you want to go to. And I have full access to the cabins, to the NetJet parties, to everything, right? And I asked Rob, who's a golf fan, I said, Rob, come with me to the Masters. I was so excited to invite him and pay him back for such a great friendship that we've had. He looked at me and said, no way. I said, what do you mean no way? He said, Dave, I don't like who you hang out with, and I especially don't like what you're doing. And I looked at him, I said, come on, man, I'm not doing what those guys are doing. He said, David, you can lie to me. Don't lie to yourself. I get choked up thinking about it. There's a book by Hertz written, don't take yes for an answer. For over a decade, I've been multimillionaire. I've been taking yes as an answer from everyone. Nobody had the balls to stand up to me and tell me how lost I was. Even my wife and my mom, who had maybe mentioned it in jest how lost I was and, oh, I'm missing out. You know how parents are and wives are, too afraid to tell you the truth, enabling you towards some arrogance and ego that's going to destroy you. He was truthful. 2 weeks later, my life would change forever, to answer your question. I was invited to go to the Grammy Awards with a rapper named Little John. And I asked my wife if it was okay. We were going to go to House of Blues. I was going to get on stage, sing From the Windows to the Wall and pour Jaeger off the stage and then go to the Grammy Awards. And I asked my wife if I could party with John. And she said, absolutely not. You're not paying attention. You're not paying attention to your family. You're not paying attention to your business. You're partying way too much. And I'm really worried about you. I don't think you should go. So I lied to my wife and I went to House of Blues and I went to the Grammy Awards and ended up coming home at 5:30 in the morning, completely wasted, which was too much of a occurrence than a non-occurrence in my life. And for the first time, she was waiting for me and she was crying. And I walked in and I said, what's the matter? And she cried and said, I'm not happy. I'm like, what happened? I'm not happy with you and I'm going to leave you. You better take stock in who you are and what you want to become, because you're going to end up dead. I wish I could have told you same way that I was ready to hear that. I told her, are you kidding me? Who do you think you're talking to? Look around you. I had a need to be offended that was unbelievable at the time. I had a need to be right, a need to be separate, and superior and inferior. And I told her to F off, and I'd show her. And I went to bed angry, woke up in the morning, decided I was going to take her joy and her love and her happiness. I was going to get divorced and take all the money. I had many relationships. I went to law school myself. I had plenty of lawyers to call. And as I'm looking up the lawyers and looking around in such disgust and ego, I look over in my closet, and there it was, that jacket. I immediately saw the jacket. And as I get choked up right now, I remember thinking in my head, man, I don't hate my father. I don't hate my wife. I hate myself. I'm a liar. I'm a cheater. I'm an overseller, back-end seller. I'm a manipulator. And my wife is right. And at that moment, I decided to take stock in who I was. And over the last 17 years, I've lived by the 4 values that I came up with today. I've written 4 books about it. I speak about it. I have podcasts. I have TV shows, all based off of these 4 values. I've created 5 daily practices based on these values in order to effectuate the ability to enjoy the consistent, everyday, persistent, without quit pursuit of my own potential in order to make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun, to empower over 1 billion people to be happy with what I learned thanks to my mom, my wife, and my friend Rob. Thanks for the people that weren't going to just say yes to me. And thank goodness, because I'm in the place that I am today and have the power that I have today because of those 3 things.
David, wow. It's you know, like as somebody on the interview side here, it's just it's I mean, the comments, I don't know if you're watching, mic drop. Wow, man, so powerful, full body chills, incredible. Certainly everybody in the room understands and relates, because we are all one and the same. I have learned over the past handful of years, when I had my own moment of realization, going through years of attracting the worst, and why don't they get it, or why can't I, and everybody else is wrong. I once heard, and I don't remember where or from who, but I once heard, similar to how you said it, it's that you're never angry with who you think you're angry at. And that comment just really put everything into perspective, even to this day, with an element of self-awareness and self-responsibility and personal growth and valuing that. It's like, if I feel that I'm getting angry or upset with somebody out here in my life, it's like, wait a minute, take a step back. What am I really angry or upset about in this moment for myself?
Yeah. And that's, part of the values is, one was just gratitude, right? To find the light, the love, and the lessons in everything, to see pain not as a stop sign, but an indicator, a turn signal that you have something to learn to get to a better place, a better position. And then forgiveness. And when I realized that I didn't have to forgive anyone except for myself, and that forgiveness not only brought me peace, but through the pandemic, I've learned that forgiveness is actually one of the only things that brings certainty to our lives. That the closer we come to forgiving the unforgivable, the more certain our lives can be, because we stop that projection, the blame, shame, and justification that exists within the context of what you're talking to, which leads to what? Accountability. Accountability says 2 things, like you did, Josh. What did I do to attract this to my life? And what am I supposed to learn from it? And if you follow gratitude and forgiveness and accountability, you can live in spirit with effective communication, not just in spirit, meaning that one branch would not go to war against another branch. Obviously we're having strained relationships around the world for a variety of reasons that separates us. And I contend to this day that if we just shift our perspective with gratitude, forgiveness, and accountability to finding and appreciating how we're the same, and then finding and appreciating the differences that make us more powerful and stronger together as a collective consciousness. If we could do that, then not only are we effectively communicating with each other, but most importantly, we're learning and connecting to what walks with us at all times. I used to think I was a hero because I was a millionaire 9 months out of law school, a multimillionaire by the time I was 30. I had everything that I ever wanted. I ran the world's first smartphone division at Samsung to Lee Steinberg Sports. And they moved the movie Jerry Maguire about my firm. I thought all of those meant anything. And I saw the ability that I had from nothing, from sitting in the back of that goddamn station wagon to being a multimillionaire. And I could climb any mountain until I realized one thing. That wasn't where the power came from. The power was that which walked with me, not to me and for me, but with me and through me, is what made the mountain. Once I realized that I am connected to what makes those mountains, then I had the ability to live for an instant between limitlessness and infinity with unbelievable light that not only liberated my life, but allowed me to liberate other people's light, to liberate other people's life. And when you realize what you're connected to and through, you will never be a victim again. You will never say, why me? You will only say, try me. And you'll say it with conviction and courage like never before, and things will come more rapidly and accurately. I guarantee it.
So a handful of years ago, when I had that realization of, especially through the eyes of my two adoring children, having realized that, my goodness, I'm the child in this circle here. I'm the one throwing the temper tantrums here. I've got some work to do. No longer am I going to be this angry, depressed, miserable father, because we know how that will end up, and continuing day in and day out to make better choices. I, in those moments, realized that being a victim was actually a thing. I never realized it until I heard somebody else say it, like you've been saying, David, all that time. You weren't ready to hear. Right? We're not always ready to hear what's being directly told to us. So only until I was ready to hear that, hey, not only is being a victim a thing, but you might want to look in the mirror. And I'm like, oh my God, yeah, I've been playing the victim. Talk to me about that for yourself.
My first realization is my second year in law school. My oldest brother died of AIDS, and I was going to leave law school. Our finances were a mess. My credit was a mess. They were going to kick me out of law school. And I went to my uncle, who's a doctor, and I was telling him how I got a job in Japan selling. I was always a natural salesperson. I was going to sell golf clubs for $60,000 a year in Japan. And, I was going to drop out of law school. And my uncle was just flabbergasted. And he said, what are you doing? I'm like, I got to get away. Everything's happening to me. It's not fair. I've worked so hard. I remember crying and saying, I've done everything that everyone expected of me. I went to college. I played football. I got a scholarship. I went to law school. I'm top of my class. I've done everything why me? Why is this happening? My brother died. F it. I'm going to go sell and make money. I don't need this. And my uncle said, you are not a victim. You're not a victim. If you're not going to invest in yourself, what are you ever going to invest in? Stop playing the victim. You just listed out all the reasons you're not a victim, and you're going to make yourself a victim. You want to live with all the money in the world and be a victim. It's up to you. But what I'm telling you now is make the investment in yourself. If you're not going to invest in yourself, what will you ever invest in? And people that invest in themselves cannot be victims. When you become an investment of yourself, you become literally escalated and elevated in what you do. And by elevating others in the same respect, you'll elevate yourself even further. And it will give you, I tell people all the time, you're anxious, depressed, frustrated, worried about this pandemic. Look, number one, go seek help for a variety of degrees of professional help or other help. But more important, I believe, than even seeking help is go give help. You want to know instantly how to change your perspective? Go do a good deed. Help somebody or something. Go do it. I promise you, your perspective will change immediately. The easiest solution of helping yourself is to help other people. And you instantly go out, return grocery carts back to where they belong, pick up trash on a walk. If you can't find someone because of the pandemic or don't want to be around someone to give them a hug, a smile, or a wave, or help them with something, go do a good deed. I promise you, in that state of pursuit of your potential, in the truth, you will find the light, the love, and the lessons that you're looking for and create the discipline of happiness that you deserve.
When you're talking about making investment in yourself, spell out, hit us over the head with some of those strategic and tactical things that show that you are doing it. Is it just putting out your best and most powerful self? Is it not playing small anymore? Is it being of service? Is it a combination of all of that?
Yeah, well, those are effects. For me, there's 5 daily practices, right? And I believe that consistency is the key. I believe 2 minutes a day is worth more than 2 hours on a Saturday. I believe in being productive, accessible, and gracious in everything you do. I believe in the efficiencies, effectiveness, and statistical success, the acceleration and exponential growth, aggregation, and compound interest that comes from consistent behavior. So if you're going to have a habit, make it be building a habit machine so that whatever you want to effectuate, these causes and effects that you talk about it, you just put it within the context of the habit machine, and it accelerates and spits it out into your life of what you want. In order to do so, there's 5 things you need to do. Number 1, know your what. People don't know their what. So take inventory of your values every day, and don't be afraid of being a hypocrite, right? Josh, you've expressed to me, you're not afraid of being a hypocrite. You're not afraid of saying, I don't know what I don't know. I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know what the F I'm doing or did. And now I'm going to take inventory every day, not being afraid of being a hypocrite of what? That's right. What are your personal goals today? What are your personal values today? What are your experiential things that you want today? What are your giving values today? What do you want to provide service or production to other people? And most importantly, and hardest to implement, what do you want to receive today? And if you could take inventory of those values, then you're going to know your what. Now, the easiest way to get your what is to look for who. Right? Not the how, not the why. I start with what every day, not being afraid of being a hypocrite. Now I go to who. Why do I go to who? Because I know this about myself. I can't afford to pay everyone in the world's state taxes, let alone federal taxes, but I can pay your dummy tax. And my dummy taxes range well over $100 million for everybody. So what can I figure from this? Number 1, who? What does that mean? I need to ask who can help me. I need to find people that sit in the situation that I want to be in. The easiest way to get to what I want is to ask someone that already has it or is already there and ask them for directions. That's the best and most efficient way. And 2, I need to ask people how I can be of service or value. Who can I help? So once I know my what, not being afraid of being a hypocrite, and now I know my who, I've created efficiencies and statistical success. Knowing my who, now is the how. And the how is very simple. We talked about it earlier, the mathematical equation of luck. I pay attention to and give intention to what I want, the coincidences in my life. And I use my calendar to study that first. What I have planned, what I don't have planned, and my sleep. My tomorrow starts today. A third of my life is spent in a subconscious and unconscious medium. And I study my sleep. I pay attention to and give intention to the sleep that I have, not only for recovery, but for the clear egoless connection that I have subconsciously and unconsciously when I'm resting. And so utilizing the lens of productivity, accessibility, and gratitude. Productivity lens is how am I providing value or service or solutions to others. Accessibility is a bifocal. It's not only how accessible am I to other people or connected to them, but how am I accessing what I want? I'm not afraid of receiving. When you live in the world of more than enough, an abundant world, you receive to give. You don't give to receive as a trader in a negotiation. Let me repeat myself. When you're truly abundant, you are worthy of everything you receive because you are giving your life away to others. And you see the difference between a trade and negotiation of I give so I can receive. Yeah, well, you don't got shit compared to I receive everything because I'm worthy of it, so I can give and have a major impact on what I want. So I get my what, my who, and my how by being a student. And then finally, I stay present and create my why. What does that mean? Simply do it now. I hate statistics. The only statistic I ever thought was ever true was 99% of all statistics were made up. You know, never before can we see statistics be thrown around like they are today. But I know 2 other statistics that are true. Number 1, I am a sports guy. 100% of all short putts don't go in. I know that to be true. But even more importantly, to be present and to know your why, You have to do it now. 100% of the things you do now get done. The difference between successful people, passionate, purposeful, and profitable people is they get shit done. And 100% of the time you get stuff done if you do it now. You need to take inventory of your values, ask and attract, and be a student of your calendar to get things done and to know whether to do them or now. You can use the matrix of Roosevelt, importance versus urgency, look it up in order to figure out what to do right now and what to put into your calendar to do later. But most importantly, the 5th daily practice will get you there. And it's the practice of ending fear. Practice ending fear to me changed my life. Number 1, it's a 4-step practice. You need to be a ferocious Buddha to practice ending fear. Number 1, most people don't take the time to identify what they're afraid of. There's primal fears, the feeding, fighting, fleeing, and the other F word that means procreate. And then there's the secondary fears that ruin your life. They steal not only your joy, Josh, they steal your money, your emotions, your energy. They steal all types of things from you. What are these fears? The need to be right, the need to be offended, the need to be separate, inferior, superior, anxious, frustrated, guilty, resentful. All of these needs of the ego. Imagine if I just took away the amount of time, energy, emotion, relationships, and money you wasted on worrying or on being right or being offended. I love the need to be offended because I have it so bad. I used to tell people, man, I wish I could feed the world as easy as I feed my need to be offended. Man, everybody would be fat. That I walk outside with the need to be offended, boom, I'm offended. Anything can offend you. But if you learn the 4 steps of number 1, identifying what you're afraid of, and then realize that when you're in ego-based consciousness, fear-based consciousness, your mind, your body, and soul on fire. And the ferocious Buddha doesn't resist that fire. It doesn't go over it, under it, through it, around it, oversell it, back end sell it, manipulate it, lie it. What does it do? It finds the key and it stops. Why does it stop? So it can drop to its highest frequency. Right. Counterintuitive oxymoron. What do you mean drop to your highest frequency? Your highest frequency, your best self is neutral, center. When you have faith that you're connected to the greatest source of light, love, and lessons, then you have to realize that your highest self is in neutral at center, where you're connected with the clearest connection with no interferences, voids, shortages, obstacles, no corrosion to that connection. So as a ferocious Buddha, you identify what you're afraid of, secondary and primary fears. You stop, you breathe, you drop to your higher frequency, and then you roll in the right direction according to what, how, and why you want it during the day. Every single day consistently to get the aggregation, the acceleration, and the exponential growth. I know that went on for a little while. I hope there's enough nuggets in there for everybody that it was worthwhile.
I think so. So much love and respect, David. My question is, so you're in the room with professional podcast hosts and professional business owners, entrepreneurs, and founders who are creating a movement for themselves and for what they want. We all have a meaningful message to share, to get out there. We all want to impact and change the world, have an effect on people, our version of exactly what you are talking about. Now because I want to now pull the curtain back and shine a light on how you've shown up for us and with us the past half hour. In other words, you've been on shows like Tom Bilyeu, like Ed Mylett, like Gary Vee, like Jordan Belfort. And the way that you've spoken and communicated this past half hour and all throughout your days is certainly masterful. And I know that doesn't happen overnight. So can you connect some dots for us from where we might be to where we want to go? How do we continue to grow and rise in that regard for ourselves?
I do a lot of coaching on this matter. And I've come up, one of the superpowers that I want for myself is to take highly complex issues and break them down to simple, pragmatic things. In order to do what you're discussing, I believe in creating a repository of lessons and stories. And the more that we understand the lessons that resonate or represent our frequency, and then create the stories, some true, some aggregated and amalgamated, and some are other people's stories, but people learn through stories. And life is about lessons. The lessons will keep on coming until we learn them. They result in pain if we haven't learned them, as I said before, pain being the indicator that you have those lessons to learn. The interesting thing about lessons, especially for entrepreneurs, podcasters, authors, speakers, this entire eclectic group that we have, is that people learn through these lessons, but they learn through these stories. They learn better through the stories. You become emotionally attached, and people buy on emotion for logical reasons. So what I decided to do years ago was to create a repository, because I knew one thing. I forget every lesson I've ever learned. I forgot, the 2 lessons I learned before I was 3 are the most powerful lessons I use in my life. One is to say thank you. So I say thank you before I go to bed and when I wake up. It took me 9 months to do it for 30 straight days. That's how difficult and how far in my own way I was. But I say thank you every single night and every single morning. And then the second one was to ask, to display radical humility. I remember my grandma, say thank you. You got to ask. If you want something, you got to ask for it. Remember, use your big words. Here we go. Yeah, those are 2 valuable lessons that I keep forgetting in my entire life. I teach gratitude, forgiveness, accountability, and inspiration, and I forget them for minutes and moments every day. Luckily, it's not days, weeks, months, and years like it used to be. It's only minutes and moments. But what I've been able to do through the repository of lessons and stories, and simply I hear a lesson, like today I learned a lesson from the CEO of Auberge, the luxury hotel hospitality group, and he said, this is how I process negativity, only in my mind. And I process positive only in my heart. You don't want to process the negativity in your heart and the positivity in your mind. If you process positivity in your mind, your ego will take over and you'll lose your humility. If you only have negativity and process it in your heart, you will be depressed. You won't be able to find the light, the love, and the lessons. So I immediately reposited this lesson of processing negativity, positivity in the mind, and create a story around it. And therefore, when I keep practicing what I'm going to teach, I'm going to teach it. I get into interviews, on stage, write books, TV shows where I'm a judge or whatever things I'm blessed to be. I have a plethora of practiced lessons, practice stories. And I get better and better at telling it. So the goose pimples come up and the tears still resonate. Why? Because I tell the story from a truth. Whether it's my story or someone else's, that I'm moved. I put myself back into the truth when I'm looking at that jacket, when I am mad at my father, when I'm guilty because I told my mom, gosh, why can't you be more like dad? And if you can learn to teach the lessons by telling the story and connect to the truth within it, people at your frequency will be moved the same way that you are. People will learn the lessons. Whether you're a podcaster, an author, speaker, a coach, an entrepreneur, it's all about lessons and stories. Reposit them, practice them, learn them, create them for the rest of your life. And I promise you, everything else will take care of itself.
And what you're saying is something we always repeat in regard to the podcasting specific industry, is that it's all a learnable skill. Just being able to communicate your message, right? It's completely learnable, and it's something you have to practice.
Absolutely. And you got to practice curiosity. I think a lot in podcasting, the most curious people that I know are the best podcasters, because they're asking questions either that everyone else is thinking or that nobody else is thinking. My goose pimples come up when I'm, I have the Playbook, which is a fairly popular podcast.
Yeah, it is.
But I get goose pimples when people say, no one's ever asked me that.
Yes.
Right? That's the one I want. I like when I ask questions that everybody wants to know, but what really is that practice of curiosity, and I get it, I'm blessed to get it, but I love when someone sits there. Ben Baller was my favorite because he went crazy. He was on some kind of tour doing a lot of interviews, and I did the interview and he just stopped. He's like, he has a lot of profanity that he uses, and I forget all of the bombs that he was dropping, the F word, the S word, the A word. He's like, holy shit. And it went on like a George Carlson routine. And I'm like, dude, what happened? I'm sorry. He goes, no one's ever effing asked me that. Holy shit, man. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, give me a minute, which I really respected, right? He took a minute to think about the answer because he was so touched that I was curious enough to ask him this question. And so I think practicing curiosity, not only going for the questions that you know everybody's going to want to know about, but more importantly, ask something that just has a twist or a turn to it that no one's thought of.
And look at Jake Fleshner in the comments already right there. Playbook podcast with Ben Baller. The link is there. How cool. Talk to us about your TV show. Huge congrats. I've been following the journey as I've been dealing with Jake all month on this leading up. I remember last month when we were organizing this, he's like, next week we're doing production. Talk to us about 2 Minute Drill.
Yeah, well, first I was blessed to be the executive producer and host of Elevator Pitch with Entrepreneur, and we have 6 seasons of that. You can see it on Entrepreneur Network and Cheddar and a variety of places. But I've been, asked to be on several shows that are funding shows. Whether it be Shark Tank, Dragon's Den, Elevator Pitch, and the only problem I have with those shows, are extremely entertaining, is that it's not real. How can you figure out and vet a deal for $1 million in 7 minutes? And so a lot of the deals, they fall apart on either side because management of expectations, the truth, some sort of facts weren't relevant. So what I wanted to do was get to the nitty gritty. I wanted to drop the funding facade and create a show called 2 Minute Drill that's all about the pitch. And, we have companies that have $11 million, already in funding, or you have a mom trying to pitch their kid to eat broccoli, and you have extraordinary judges, the CEO of Verb, LinkedIn's founder, Uber's founder, Bradley Tusk, ridiculous people that are giving extraordinary insight on how to pitch. And I think it's one of the greatest skills you can have is pitching. And so we created 2 Minute Drill, and bless us, we got picked up by Bloomberg Television, Amazon Prime Video. Now we have the largest entrepreneurial channel in all of India, with the richest man in India who owns the network. Monday, it's airing for the first time there. And it's the first time I've done a TV or a movie project by myself as the executive producer from start to finish. And I am so pleased with where we are as a start, only because I know season 2 is coming up in June, and all the additions and adjustments are going to be even that much better. But if you want to check it out, you can go to Bloomberg TV tonight, check it out, or Pluto has Bloomberg as well. So if you don't have it on your cable, check it out. And in Amazon Prime, it'll probably launch next week. We've done episode 1, episode 2 will come out tonight. 12 episodes, by the way.
That's incredible. And I know, again, here, Jake in the comments it says you can apply to pitch for the show, which is open to everybody. But
there is $50,000 of cash and prizes. So I didn't leave out the money. So it's a good reason to show up.
Wow. And I know we have about 20 minutes left here together. But when I was reading originally about the concept of 2 Minute Drill, what really stuck out, and I spoke to Jake about this, was something that was written in the description of it was it really helps entrepreneur and business people communicate their message. And I'm like, well, if that's not a phrase we've used behind these doors often about how do you communicate your message on shows. So, what if we do something off the cuff here, David, and we get people right here, right now, bring a few up one at a time until we have to wrap this up in 20 or so minutes. Maybe they could pitch for 2 minutes and get your feedback in real time.
Only if we give them some kind of prize. So I'd love to do it. So think of something I can give them besides my books.
Right, because everybody is getting a digital copy of your recent book. So look for that. What if, I know you do the Instagram live show, maybe we bring somebody as a guest there.
You got it. We take the top 2, we'll put them on Instagram live with me.
Oh my goodness. Did you guys catch that? Top 2 people who pitch to David, pitch your product, pitch your service. I don't know the setup. You'll help us orient it. 2 spots for David's Instagram live show as a guest. My goodness, let's let that sit for a minute. David, so what do we need to know as viewers, as people in the room who are about to pitch? How do you set us up? By the way, if you want the chance to pitch to David, a 2 minute drill right here in the comments, raise your hand in the comments so I'll know to call on you and we'll bring you guys up one at a time. What do we need to know before we pitch?
Get up to 2 minutes to convince me of something. It can be to fund your company, mentorship, convince somebody else of something. I just want to evaluate how well you communicate your message, how credible you are, where the emotional attachment is? Have you quantified reasons and impacts and talked about the capabilities in the appropriate manner in order to effectuate what you're asking for is less than the value in which you're giving? And so I'll look at the quantitative value. I have a great little song that I sing. I'm not looking for subjective value in a pitch. I leave that to Barney, the purple dinosaur. Let him sing you the subjective value song. I love you. You love me. Nobody ever makes any money. So I'm more into quantitative value. Let's bring more value with your pitch. Let it exceed what you're asking for. And I promise you, you'll do really well. Remember, this is a good rehearsal so you can try out for my show and actually win $50,000 of cash and prizes, which is much better than my Instagram live, but we'll do okay there too.
This is amazing. Go ahead, Eric. What's on your mind?
I'm going to jump in. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence, David. Absolute honor and joyful. Everyone here is just absolutely loving you and loving your message. I just wanted to let you know that I was talking with Amanda Holmes, CEO of Chet Homes International, for a couple of hours yesterday, and told her you were coming into our space and our world tomorrow. And she just wanted to say hi. I'm buying time here for our crew here, but yeah, she says hi. She says you are still the #1 testimonial of that they promote on Chet Homes International. So yeah, she wanted to show you her love and say hello. But I think here we have
people. So why don't we get it's so funny because when I said, hey, who wants to step up, the same people who all day are like this in the comments, everybody's now like, yeah, the fear kicks in, doesn't it? Which is a great sign. What did Perry Marshall tell us last hour? He says, when you hit that fear, that's the sign to go. Would you agree with something like that, David?
It's an indicator, absolutely. And it's an indicator to go. I keep on seeing I'm in now.
Okay, so let's get
all the brave women. All the brave women. I see more women than men.
Your Rhino Julie has been a force, as you can tell by her name. So I say Rhino Julie, let's step up.
Fine. So here's the thing.
I was not going first, but I am now.
Is it actually, David, do you have like a 2 minute, and at 2 minutes they got to stop? Like,
it's a cold, hard stop. In fact, you can have Jake or somebody just,
I got to
clock it and put it up there 2 minutes.
All right. Or if you take less, albeit. So we'll probably get around 3 people up to let David
remember
out.
This about 2 minutes. This is my favorite line about 2 minutes. What? It's like a martini. 1 minute's not enough and 2 seems to be too many.
I love it. So Rhino Julie, you're up. Any preference, or she just goes with it?
Go with it.
Okay, Eric, are you on the clock?
I'm on the clock. You'll hear it buzz.
Starting now.
David, what is the biggest thing that I can help you with right now when it comes to your health and fitness?
Well, man.
Well, I'm sorry. This is
you have to pitch.
Yeah. There's a pitch, right?
So
you pitch.
I was waiting for other people to go first because then I was going to start by getting to know who I'm talking to and like, just
right
be
on.
like, whoa, she's actually going to get to know who she's talking to. Like that was my plan. And then I went first. Okay. So I'm going to assume, David, that you have been struggling with weight loss just for your whole entire life. Okay. So let's just go there. All right, let's do this. Can we start over, please?
Yeah, of course. No problem. You're first. You're first. So thank you.
I hit the clock when you start talking.
Okay. All right. David, thank you so much for talking to me today. I just want you to know that I understand where you're coming from. So 16 years ago, I remember very specifically, I woke up, I got out of bed, but I didn't want to get out of bed. And I couldn't find clothes to wear. And I had this business at the time. And my client that I was going to see, his name was Russi Bostangiev. And he was so incredibly intimidating. And I was going to go talk to him, but I couldn't find anything to wear because nothing fit. So the top button of my skirt was unbuttoned. And I put on a jacket, and I live in Las Vegas and it's really hot here. And I was wearing this jacket and I went to this meeting and I was just sweating and I was just dying. And every aspect of my life was completely miserable. And I don't know if you're identifying at all with this. And I just thought that the one thing that I could do to help myself feel better was lose weight. I felt like it would fix everything. And very long story short, I gave up my business at the time and dedicated my life to helping people figure out how to lose weight forever. And I wasn't able to do it right at first. It's been a 16-year journey, but I would love to just get you in my online tribe. It's this little tribe of people who are all trying to do it the same way. We start with mindset. We work on one little baby thing at a time because it's not something that happens right away. I need you to feel successful in order to be motivated. And so I would just love to have you come and try it for a free week and see what happens and see how I can help.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Very good. Do you want a little bit of feedback?
Yeah,
Is that what you want, Josh?
That'd be great.
Yes, please.
So
I'm not
obviously,
a salesperson.
Obviously with no practice, and I want to reiterate with everyone that still practice is the number one thing when it comes to pitching, that we can't just assume because we know our business, which Julie obviously knows her so well, and we know our personal experience and our customers' experiences and the value that we provide, that without practice, that this would be an extraordinary pitch. But all things considered, impromptu, that you're the first person. What you did extraordinarily well was the emotional attachment. I love that you built a picture that whether it was me or someone like me, and I think that's where, you know, if you practice a little bit, you'd realize I'm not just talking to Dave, right? I'm pitching somebody that either knows or has this issue. I always say people, there's no gatekeepers to what we do in life. There's just sponsors and power sponsors, meaning somebody knows someone that they can help, or they can be helped themselves and know somebody that we can be helped. And so I think utilizing that emotional story of how weight loss has impacted your life by that story, that uncomfortable story that was vulnerable, honest, and illuminating, built up, to me, credibility and value of how you can change someone's life. And when you're talking about exceeding and articulating quantitative value and exceeding what you're asking for, you achieve that goal tremendously because of that emotional attachment and credibility. As a constructive one with practice, of course, you would go through and talk about more quantified reasons why it works, how it impacts you by lowering the bar, doing things consistently. I love the fact that you did say that this doesn't happen overnight. So you separated yourself from all the overselling, back-end selling, manipulated weight loss programs that just have some short fix. You really built up a message to me that, Dave, let me figure out a way to change who you are in order to effectuate why and what your relationship to food is, just to make you feel better.
Thank you for joining Turmeric and Tequila with your host, Kristen Olson. Tune in next time, and don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.